Hello. Sad note from Axe to Grind?
Sad note
Very
from Axe to
sad.
Grind.
Yep.
As mentioned on the last episode, RIP Todd Youth.
Yeah, so we, scheduling, we had to record early, so I was only able to put in a drop to commemorate Todd Youth, but we just wanted to do something a little bit more involved for the man. I've gone on record as saying Warzone kind of kickstarted my interest in music.
Yep.
And for that, I owe the man a debt of gratitude. Unless he ruined my life, which you could make that argument, so whatever. But I'll try.
I feel like you might have ruined it.
Yeah, I'll try.
It's
like, my bad.
Maybe it wasn't this.
It's my bad. I can't blame Warzone.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah.
I think that we'll just have a quick conversation about how some of the old heads are or will be passing on.
Yeah, and I mean, to me, the big thing was, like some of the bands the guy did, very important to me, and then some not. And really more, I just respect him as an artist. And then you separate it and go, okay, well, you're an artist and you did these things that mean something to me. But maybe more importantly, you were a man with family and friends and all that. And so hearts go out to those people in his life. And just, it's sad when you see anyone pass. And this is a reminder that this is not a big community. And when you see people who are artists, and you got to remember, there's people who are going through shit. And there's no speculation on how he passed. We aren't really privy to that. But he was a great guitar player. He used his music as expression. And I think that's kind of what, when we talk about this stuff, it's all we want out of the people who are making the music we love, is that they're doing it because it's their passion. It's their expression.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, like he's a guy with, a child or two younger. You know what I mean? A lot of people that I care for, really hurt by this. So, it sucks. He was a super talented dude. He was a lifer.
Mm-hmm.
That dude was from the early 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And stuck around and went on to great things and got to play with fucking Motorhead and Danzig. He was in Degeneration. He did, and he was always involved in music.
Studio musician, from what I understand, too.
Yeah, like a super talented dude that almost kind of outgrew punk and hardcore, but never kind of left.
Never outgrew it.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, but playing wise and stuff, he was so talented.
Maybe this is a good moment to speak on Warzone, because I feel as though there's an entire generation who kind of disconnected from it. And we've kind of touched on it just a little bit here. Warzone is a band whose sound is to a genre. It's pretty straightforward hardcore. Not, if you're someone who came in and your leanings are more on the metalcore side, more on the heavy side, I could see why you would think Warzone is not good.
Yeah.
What I want to just kind of put out there is that I hope this is another one of these moments. When Rabies died, that was a real, this is pre-internet, but everyone knew. Everyone found out pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. It's not totally pre-internet, but it was pretty early.
Yeah, it wasn't. Yeah.
And within a year or so, it was an RIP Rabies on the back of every Victory CD.
Yeah.
The guy, and really what Warzone stood for, so, include Todd Youth in this as well. And for a large swath, a lot of the early old New York stuff, what they meant to the community and what the band represented in a lot of ways overtook or outstood the music in a way that it was the music, it's an extension, but it's an extension of who we are as people. I think Todd Youth is one of the guys who was out there saying, no, this is people who were, there's a clip of him on, I think, Regis and Kathy Lee, and they're talking about slam dancing and moshing and how dangerous it is, people just punching people. And Todd Youth, in one of the most familiar ways, looks out and he's like, no, you don't get it. People are out there, they're just expressing themselves. They're not trying to hurt people. But then an outsider comes in and doesn't get it. And that's the person who's trying to swing on people. And so what Warzone is you hear the reverence for it. There are tracks, just tracks.
Sure.
You can hear it. But I could see if somebody didn't get it. But the reason for the reverence isn't the tracks. It's what they meant on a more esoteric level. They meant a lot. It's
right.
just,
I mean, if you think about hardcore in general, maybe American or even New York more specifically, there's 8 people that are the fucking founding fathers.
The Mount Rushmores.
You know what I mean? To steal another WFAN thing, but it's Roger and Vinny and Jimmy and Todd, Harley and John, and Ray. And you know what I mean?
Yep.
And there's so few of those folks that's why. Like, this isn't just some fucking guy in a band that died.
Nope. This is
He
a
was
dude.
like
He was
one of our
the founders.
yeah.
Played on the first 2 Murphy's Law records, first handful of Warzone records. Went on to do a lot of stuff musically, and recently was in Firebird, a band who was doing things.
Yeah.
And so what's a respectful way to do this? I'll tell you one thing: share your personal experiences, but don't tragedize it. The tragedy is that a man died, whoever that is, whatever your personal relationship. That's interesting. It's cool to share, but we realize this is more about the man and his people. Show the artist some respect by playing some of his music, check out a few of the things he's done. If you can find it, he did a band in the late 90s called the Home Wreckers. They only did a single, really gnarly
Like garage
punk, kind of 70s garage punk meets some of that Man's Ruin record stuff, like proto stoner kind of like stuff. Really good. The single is hard to find.
Right.
Meanwhile, you could at Generation Records, because I'm pretty sure Todd brought them the singles. You could buy them at any time for a few years there. So go out, check the man's music out, and find out a little bit more about what he's about, and realize what the loss was here.
Yep.
All right.
Don't forget the struggle.
Very well said. Don't forget the streets. Now on to our regularly scheduled program.
Yeah, I'll do the rewritten.
Welcome to Axe to Grind. One of you guys want to say it?
The preeminent hardcore podcast. I like, you know what? Pat acts like this is like a video vlog because when he introduces, he puts on a smile. Dude is deadpan the entire time. He goes, "Welcome to Axe to Grind." He puts a smile on.
I'm selling
it. Because he knows you can hear a smile.
Yeah, exactly.
You're smizing.
Exactly.
Got it.
You know what? I have figured out on all the things I do, I should becoming a little bit more peppy. You know what I mean? I'm too me. I'm too me all the time.
Too on brand.
I'm just me.
I'm just Pat. So, but
you're like, I'm not perfect.
I'm not perfect. I'm just Pat. But like,
it's Pat.
I should be peppier. You know what I mean? It's radio, right? I should be like, oh, hey, it's the mongoose. You know what I mean? Like,
what would you be doing today if you weren't recording? Sitting at your mom's house watching TV, probably.
Yeah, I'm dog.
That actually would be nice.
I'm dog sitting, so I would be watching. Have you guys seen Q?
No,
not the conspiracy theory, but the movie Q. It's
not next gen, dude.
No. It's Q. Like,
and not you.
It's about. I can't say it.
Qbert?
No, not Qbert. The Mexican like dragon death god, Cucatale, whatever the fuck it is.
Okay.
Yeah.
Quetzalcoatl.
There you go. Thank you.
Oh, good
Thank
pronunciation.
you. It's a movie. Like with
close.
No, I was
Cuticale.
I was way far.
Cuticles.
Yeah. So
Cucumber juice.
it's a movie.
Quasimodo. Samsonite.
It's a movie
Way off.
about a dragon in New York who devours people. And
I'm in.
It is so fucking so it bites the head off of window washers and people that are just sunbathing and shit like that. But
Is
it's
this like a sci-fi movie?
Yeah, it's from like 1983, and it looks it's a stop motion, and
so it's like Clash of the Titans.
Yeah, and it looks like trash, and it's great, and it's on Amazon.
Are we gonna do a watch through right now?
So that's what
that might be the next episode.
We're just out. I mean, I got Amazon Prime.
Oh, then
you need to do
should
a
watch it.
non-hardcore episode because we've preached this. We said you can't just do hardcore; you'll burn out. So we're just going to do an episode where we don't do any hardcore.
Okay, so actually, I want to talk about that this episode.
All right.
Shortly.
Are we doing pre-production for the next episode?
We do pre-production here all the time. That's what you guys get.
Quick,
Deep.
let's hit our sponsors. Firstly, I'm Patrick.
I'm Bob.
I'm Tom.
And this is Death Wish Inc.
Death Wish Inc. Is a sponsor, and one of my favorite hardcore labels now has expanded to just a label. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a label that puts out things that you could be of most stripes of subculture and probably find a record you really
They've dabbled
enjoy.
in non-core for a long time,
Yeah.
but they care. They want to be inclusive and do the whole thing. I'm going to recommend today.
Oh, you got it.
I do. The Modern Life is War Evolution Volume 2 Navy Blue Long Sleeve. Here, Tom, take a look at that. That's a classic looking hardcore shirt.
It has a Gorilla Biscuits vibe to it.
Yeah, but it's a navy blue. It's got
Very classy.
blue, light blue, and red tones. Good for the fall. Goes well with almost anything.
Good for layering.
Did anybody? I was so disappointed. Nobody was really feeling my Free Charles Manson shirt, and I thought that was such a classic nod. You know what I mean? I was bummed.
But the Garfield shirt is so good.
I know.
We need to go back. Did you guys get a cease and desist on that?
No, but
Nothing from Paws Inc.
we threw that one exclusively to Deathwish.
I know.
So that's theirs. They
I
can,
want them to do it again. I'm gonna hit them
I
up.
mean, yeah,
I'm
fine.
gonna
If
text
it
them
helps
now.
get us out of debt, fucking take it.
Yeah. Anything else we want to recommend from them? Because they do great shit.
I got a lot of positive feedback from folks about the Super Unison song we played a couple weeks ago.
Me too.
People are like, oh, you know what? That really wouldn't be something that I'd probably be into usually, but I really was into that song. I got
Yeah.
a ton of people that responded
That's
to me
cool.
about
Same, exact same, and from people who I was not expecting to
No.
hear from about it. I think that record's cool. I hope that band tours a little bit. I think
Yeah,
that'd
me
be
too.
cool.
that. Do you know if do they have any plans or anything like that?
I don't. I could find out before the end of this podcast, I think.
Cool.
But the
Post-production.
So let's make that our suggestion then. You know,
Yes.
I mean, the Super Unison record, which a lot of people connected with. If you didn't listen to our episode where we listened to music, I get the best feedback period on those episodes. So go
I know.
check out the most recent one, and you'll hear the Super Unison song. Pick up the album.
There's so much stuff out there, and we are only touching the very
Yes.
tip of the
But you know
iceberg.
what? We do try to make it easier because if you go to deathwishinc.com and go to their store and enter the promo code
Axe to grind.
and you
Spell that out.
get 10% off.
You got to yell it like you're in a mall.
Yeah.
Spell it out. Triple B Records.
Triple B, also another great sponsor that we're proud to have on board because Sam at Triple B is not so quietly putting out some of the best hardcore records of the modern era. Very diverse. Even if there's a record I don't like, I'm not mad at it because there's such a variety going now that I honestly did not think he was going to be able to maintain. But I have been very impressed that seamlessly he maintains the same audience that either picks up that record or doesn't and keeps it moving with respect for the label. And he's doing a cool thing. So same deal. If you go to that web store, which is
triplebrecords.limitedrun.com.
you can enter the promo code,
Axe to grind.
and I urge you to spell it out.
Welcome to
10%
Orange
off.
Julius.
10% off. If you buy the Wetzel's Pretzels, yell, spell it out.
I got 3 recommendations.
Okay, well,
One,
3.
Magnitude 7-inch. 2, Eco Strike Time Is Now 7-inch. 3, and this is the one I'm dying. If you guys do this, I will send you something special. I need to see receipts on it. I'm going to talk to Sam. I need 5 people to order the Triple B coffee mug. It's not expensive. It's actually, it looks like it costs you to order about how much it costs us to make our goddamn mugs.
No shit.
Go order that Triple B coffee mug. For you, I want that as a Christmas present for people. Christmas is coming. Do your Christmas shopping early. Get your dad a Triple B Records coffee mug, and I'll do something nice for you.
Wow. I want to see a dad with a mad fucking, like a broom handle mustache, just drinking a cup of coffee on. They have to. I don't know. My wife's out returning all the gifts.
He's got that. He's got a Warfare shirt on. He doesn't know what
Yeah.
any of that shit is.
He's like, send demos. What the hell's a demo? I used to work in demo in
used-
WW2.
send demos. What you're sending, I'll just do it myself.
Back before I did HVAC, I was a demo guy.
I would also like to recommend a record that is coming out November 3rd officially. The Ukulu.
Oh, yeah.
Self-titled 7-inch. It's the demo on Wax.
Did
They just
I-
played their first show.
Did you guys see it?
I didn't have
I
a chance
saw
to
a
go
clip.
because they went on at 6:30. I was still at work.
Yeah.
I heard they ripped it.
Yeah.
Like killed it.
Looked awesome. Looked like it sounded awesome.
Yeah,
everybody
got a
was
big
saying
reaction.
It was
They all pulled it off like shredding and all that sort of stuff. I'm very excited to see what comes next for that band.
So I'm trading in a Kulu Futures.
yeah, we need.
Yeah, man.
I think we're buying. What I want is a 6-song 12-inch EP next.
We bought early into the Candy Futures,
Yes.
and
And we're rich as fuck right now.
No, you know who else we bought in really hard on? Fiddlehead.
Ah,
We bought in hard. I was thinking about this because we're inevitably going to be doing our best records of the year.
Oh, yeah.
Not too far in the future.
Yeah, which means it'll be a year that we were podcast.
That's crazy. But I
one
want to
step closer to the icy
Edge.
embrace of the grave.
Wow.
about to break.
Everything you say to me.
One step closer to the edge.
Chester.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. buddy.
Yeah. Wow, it's weird. We all looked to the sky.
And I was trying to do a moment of silence.
I mean, I don't
my
even
bad.
believe in Jesus. I did it too.
No. Well, no, but you believe in Chester. He's floating.
I believe in
above.
Chester. I don't believe in JC.
Yeah, no.
JC and
Jason Collins from the Nets.
Chester CB. WWCBD.
There you go.
CBD.
To our new
Put it on the root.
5.
Sorry.
I was dying in the car with the rig talk.
Someone's like, "Yo, man, you mentioned it." I'm like, I'm just gonna say that. Like,
It's really
you checking out my rig?
So here's the question: Does he actually suggest you put the CBD oil on your on?
No.
Okay.
That was a mashup that I
yeah,
did.
no.
He definitely does. Like,
Grease the rig.
yeah, they have like a blue. They have like a blue chew. Like, you can't. If you can't get an erection, you should take this pill.
Yeah.
They have a CBD thing, and they have something about making your balls smell pretty.
The ball smell pretty one feels like the most kind of like, is that necessary? Is it like a squatty potty where it seems ridiculous on the surface, but then is really effective and great?
Do you use soap
On my balls
on your body?
versus what?
Not?
Okay.
You just get in the shower and like
you
dance
act like
around.
this is a
for
crazy question, but now you're trying to answer it and you don't know.
He's definitely. He's like, how do I answer
know.
this to sound like a regular?
Because I know him
human?
well.
I make Amelia kind of mad because if I don't
Do you
have,
just get wet?
if I don't have any place to be, I'll just kind of shower for the fun of it, and I'll come out and she'll be like, "Your armpits smell like you just got."
That's why?
Like you are not going. I don't like chemicals, man.
Dude.
We're so fucking weird.
Oh my god! I use 2 different kinds of soap. If that's any.
She gets so mad.
I do an Irish Spring first coat, then I go back with some Dr. Bronner's to make sure I don't smell.
That's nice. I like
because
that.
you should see me clean dishes. I'll only use friction, and it makes people insane. I hate chemicals. I hate smell.
What about
chemical-
natural soaps? There's a lot.
Yeah, no, I fuck with some natural soaps. You know what I mean? Like some, but
So, all right,
your
you know
own
what?
from
This is
some-
a sincere call out. I think we have listeners who do like some soap stuff. If you make natural soaps and you want to be a sponsor, we'll do it in barter system. If you do something that's not in hardcore and you want us to promote it, I actually know that we've gotten good feedback on that. Hit us up. We'll barter. Let's go.
yeah, that's true.
We like vegan food. We like
Yeah.
We like vegan food. We like smelling good. Ooh,
we like Pat's armpits not to smell like a
No,
nutsack.
that's never. I mean, if I
Myballs.com.
look, I'm gonna be honest. If I'm not leaving the house, I'm not cleaning this.
No, but do you realize
Do you
we
think-
record this at your house a lot, and I walk in and go, oh,
Yeah, I mean,
let's go to the
It's-
larger problem.
it stings the nostrils.
Let's talk about who has mentioned, man, you never leave the house. This is kind of a problem. Amelia.
Yeah,
Who is essentially your landlord? Amelia.
I don't like to look at it that way.
Wow, it's
Who also has
dark.
now been told might have a problem when you have stinky armpits.
No, so here's the deal.
she doesn't like
Once-
your musk, man.
No,
Twice,
no, she likes the smell.
strikes,
she's
you're out.
just appalled that somebody could get in the shower and come out
For fun.
smelling the same.
Yeah, that's
You know
the
what I
whole
mean?
point.
what's
Because
the
I'll
fun
shower.
part?
I'll shower for an hour
Yeah.
and then come out, and she'll be like, "Yo, did you wash your armpits?" And I'll be like, "No, it's my day off,
So what exactly are you doing in there?
chilling,
Yeah.
getting my
do you have a
best,
seat?
Just
getting my
relaxing.
best ideas."
There a seat in there?
No, I lay in the shower every time
Laying in the
I,
shower is a fantastic experience.
I lay in the shower.
It's amazing.
You lay. You
I let the
probably pee in
water.
there too, don't you?
I pee all over my feet. I pee on everything.
No athlete's foot for you.
No, I try to stay ahead of it.
You're like Taco from the league.
I try to stay ahead of it. I pee on my feet all the time.
Axe to grind life code. Piss on your feet.
Pee on your hands, Jorge Posada. You know what I mean?
Do you not put deodorant on?
Okay. No, sorry, we're getting into my personal hygiene here.
I mean,
I'm
Did
allergic.
you notice how he avoided the soap question but gave a long answer to say no?
No. I fuck with soap.
Sometimes
I fuck with
soap.
Dr. Bronner's, and my girl gets some mad expensive natural shit, and I'll fuck with all that. But if I'm at somebody's house and all they got is like Axe body wash or some shit, I'll just smell. You know what I mean? Because I don't need those chemicals on
you
my
don't bring
body.
your own shit on tour.
No, I'm an animal. I don't bring my own towel. I don't bring my own fucking. I don't bring anything.
You don't bring like toiletries with you.
Toothbrush, toothpaste.
Toothbrush, toothpaste.
You don't brush your hair?
I haven't washed my hair in 5 years, 6 years maybe.
Are you kidding me?
No, if you don't wash your hair, you don't need to wash your hair.
That is some bullshit.
No, it's true.
That is some weird ass.
It's true. It's like being a duck. Your body naturally regulates the oils.
If you don't wash your hair, you don't have to wash your hair.
That's the way it works.
That is some circular weird bullshit.
You go through 5 weeks of it being mad greasy, and then you are good for life.
Then you just greasy all the time.
No, you're good for life.
You don't really look greasy.
No, I'm not
No, he
greasy.
doesn't.
I'm killing it.
But you do wet it.
Yeah.
That's so fucking.
Yeah, he's laying down in there.
I'm like, yeah, it's unavoidable.
Do you wear a cap?
No,
Like
no
it-
cap. No cap.
No cap.
No
No
cap.
cap.
Yeah. So,
Sorry, everybody.
anyway, I'm allergic to most deodorants, so I use that crystals.
Okay.
Oh.
Love the crystals.
Love the crystals. All right. Well, we're gonna work on some soaps.
So there's a store in my building that sells Dr. Bronner on the cheap. Can I get you some Dr. Bronner?
Wait, I've got Dr. Bronner. I'm just saying it.
I
like-
think there might be some good options out there.
Oh, guys, I know what soap is. And also,
I know it's soap is. I just don't use it.
Also, my girl, I don't know if you noticed this. She's like put together. Like her shit is on point. Like
Yeah, even when she's trying to be sloppy, she ain't sloppy.
Yeah, I know. It's like she pose her ass when she like wears like
she's like,
shit that looks
oh, look, I'm
shit.
wearing
It's like,
sweats. Like,
yeah,
yeah,
no, you
okay.
still look good. But she's very put together. She loves all that. Like she's minimal, but she loves skincare, loves all that shit.
Yeah, of
course.
So she's got the expensive. She was excited. Let me get it like this: the excitement the last 2 days has been that we're almost finished the Dr. Bronner's because she's so excited to try this new product that she got. And I'll fuck with all the shit.
You gotta
I'm just
step
saying,
it up, man.
I'm
I gotta.
just saying- yeah, no. I
If
know.
your girl is excited, you know what's been great? I'm almost out of soap. If that's with her, like,
No, please.
you may want to bring some flowers home after this. Or something. Something, man. Step it up a little bit. Something. Bring her home like extra.
She loves that shit. Like,
I mean, a lot of people do, and it's fine.
yeah. I mean, point is, I'm not as grimy.
I
as,
run around in the like. I make believe I'm singing in the rain and I'm dancing.
I love the shower. It's where I get some real thoughts going. But
No.
and I'm not as grimy as we're all sounding.
No, you're a
it's just
clean
my
dude.
day off.
Clean dude, I understand.
Day off.
I mean, you're
Ne-
playing fast and loose, but
day.
clean.
Yeah, well, it's not the cleanest, but
That
day off.
Mutoid man shirt.
Smelly.
Oof. I put my
Smelly.
hand on it.
Smelly. All right, what do we got?
Are you gonna wear that purge shirt until Halloween?
It is a Halloween-ish shirt, but
Very new metal. It looks like
I
it could
know.
be Slipknot.
So here's the question.
Kiss me.
It was either a comic book related shirt or a movie, and I'm glad it was the movie.
So sometimes I'll wear it on
And
tour,
free.
and I never know if people get the reference that it's a purge shirt.
No.
No.
I love those movies. That's the only reason why I knew it.
Okay.
And she was a scary character.
Yeah, yeah.
Do you know who? No. Do you know who it is?
I do, yeah. Well, I don't know her name. I don't.
No. But
I'm
know
not,
you're
I'm
familiar.
not steeped in the lore.
You're
but yeah.
familiar with the character.
Yes.
She's the one who's fucking with Bubba from Bubba Grump Shrimp.
Right.
The guy that owned
Yeah.
the bodega. That she. Yeah.
Yeah, like big time, like harassing the kind people of
Yes.
the bodega. Yes. Okay.
Today,
Yes.
we're
Is
not
the
gonna-
greatest.
We're not going to spend the whole episode talking about Patrick's.
Do you want to talk about all of our like?
What's your
routines?
ritual? What do you got?
What do I do?
What do I do? Do you shower every day,
Yes.
no matter if you're going out or not?
Yeah, absolutely. Sometimes more than once, depends on how I'm feeling. Sometimes it's nice to just lay in there. We have a stand-up shower, so sometimes I just have to sit
Yeah,
and like
yeah.
lean back with the knees, and it's tough. It's kind of depressing. Soap all the time. I use a bar soap sometimes.
Oh,
Amanda
interesting.
doesn't fuck with that. She thinks it's weird, but I like it.
A lot of people think it's dirty, but I don't
It is.
really
I like
understand.
it.
Like
I
once
like
the
it.
once the first layer goes away.
Yeah, but how many have you ever gone into a shower at somebody's house and there's a pube on it?
Yeah, for sure.
You have to have no hair on that thing. That thing better be clean.
You gotta like do like you gotta move
Really,
it
there
around.
shouldn't be a lot of hair in your shower. Period. And the story. Whether you with and women have more hair, so sometimes they have long
Typically,
hair,
yeah, my
you know.
girls leaves hair everywhere, and for me
It's
that's
okay.
weird because I'm
a
like
dash
a
for
thing I'm
professionals,
religious
huh?
about. A thing I'm religious about is if I shave, no hair.
No hair.
I don't want to
Definitely.
leave a trace.
You shave in the shower?
I shave. I do my first pass in the shower.
Yeah, and you do some touch up.
and then I look in the mirror.
I started doing shaving in the shower, and I'll get right under the water, have it because I don't use any shave foam or gel or anything.
wow.
Nothing.
What?
Dry. I never have.
What? I'm sorry.
But I mean, if,
Since I
your
was
skin, if
young.
you use hot water, you don't really need them.
Never. Don't
Really?
use it. Yeah, man.
Have you ever dry shaved? That
One-
shit's
Yo,
fucked.
dry shave socks? You
so
just
so
straight-
I can't. I straight up like if I shave with a safety razor or something like that.
Yeah.
My skin is cashed. I'm not looking like a real person.
Welcome to Gentleman's Corner.
Yeah, I know.
Robert.
Yo,
Rub that,
you know what it is?
rub that,
Thomas.
Rub that CBD.
Yeah.
You don't shave too much, right?
No.
And how often do you have to shave? If you do a clean shave, when's the next time you have to shave?
Okay, so I haven't done a clean shave in 10 years. But I will do a...
No, like, you know, like...
I use clippers on my face.
Oh, really?
That's the closest I
so
come
that's
to...
probably why.
You know what I mean? But
Yeah, I use a clean shave. I use this
Is that are those
razor.
clippers only used for one reason?
No, they go everywhere.
Okay, that's
I don't
okay.
give a fuck.
No, it's good. But I'll do that. I shaved yesterday. Mm-hmm. Starting to come back.
Yeah, you're not brutal, though.
Not brutal, but by the end of the recording, it's going to be a little thicker. It's
get-
not 5 o'clock shadow, but it comes.
Are you a beard guy?
Do I get a beard?
Were you ever a beard guy?
No, never.
But you
But I'll-
look
I'll
like you got
grow
good
it.
coverage.
Pretty good coverage. I don't have any splotches.
Right.
No,
I do.
But I used to
tough.
have red beard, and now it's gray as hell, like little splotches of that.
Welcome to old age, buddy.
Yeah, I know.
Welcome to
It's
it,
been
buddy.
great for a while. But yeah, shave. I don't like shaving. I had a job once where they tried to make me shave
For
every
the
day.
Yankees? When you played for the
No,
Yankees?
I wish. No sideburns. These are what are you talking about? Let's see. That's it. I have a body gel that I use, but I don't love it. I don't use it that often. But yeah, I try to shave. I try to shower before I go to sleep because I don't like being sticky. But if I can't, I'll deal with it. Yeah. What about you, Tom?
I'm a multi-shower a day person.
No shit.
More.
Morning,
Yeah.
evening?
Sometimes. If I'm going out.
Yeah.
So what I do, shower in the morning before I go to work, get home from work, shower, go. Like I'll make
Okay.
time
To get it.
Like it would probably be easier. Like if I went straight from my office to this concert or to this random thing I'm going to, I will hustle home just to get 15 minutes in the shower.
No, I
just
feel
to go
That's a
back
nice
out.
decompress. I like that.
Yeah.
I feel that. And if I've been on anything like a bus or a crowded subway,
yeah.
it's a shower for sure.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Crowded
I got,
subway's really tough.
I got other people's disease on me. I don't
Yeah.
need this shit.
I'm a bar soap and a Dr.
Gel.
Bronner's guy.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Okay.
I still haven't read the entire Dr. Bronner's bottle.
Oh, I have.
Have
It's
it?
changed.
Has it?
Yeah.
Is he still alive?
Nope.
So someone is
R.I.P.
like,
Dr. B.
yeah.
He's got a fascinating history. He was.
I mean, his bottle is covered with.
So he was. This is what kind of brain he was. He was in an asylum, and
You don't say.
And he was. He stared out the window. He was there for like a year, and he stared out the window every day at a factory across the river. And the first place he went when he got out of the fucking asylum was to that factory to explain that their smokestacks, that there was a certain amount of loss, that they, like whatever the, whatever the thing is, right? That they could be more efficient. And they were like, do you have an appointment? and he's explaining it to them. And they're like, okay, who are you? And he's like, well, I'm a soap maker, or I forget what he was at that time. He made cosmetics or something, but he's like, but I just had a view of your spot from the asylum across the way. And they're like, oh, thank you. Thank you so much for the suggestion, sir.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We'll take it under advisement. But that was the kind of mind he was. Moral ABCs, fascinating. It's just like if you just took like a person who mishmashed 10 different things and then a bunch of weirdly Kipling writings.
Oh, yeah.
That's weird.
Is that what you do in the shower? That's why you're in there for an hour? Just trying to read your A through
doing some
Z?
reading.
Exactly.
Some light reading.
The moral ABCs. What is it? All one or none.
All right.
You know what I mean?
We in. All one or none.
That's it.
You guys want to talk about hardcore for a little bit?
Yeah, hardcore podcast.
We should do the non-core. We're going to do the no-core episode soon.
That was pretty no-core.
Not talking about the COC.
How long, that was like
records.
15
I mean,
minutes.
you painted me
Almost
as
20.
you painted me as a crusty, so it was a little hardcore.
Well, you're getting ready for War Profiteer.
That's true.
We're just going to keep dropping this until
Yeah.
it's like.
Oh, it's already a thing. I got the demos, and they are at least. They're currently in their current state. You could probably put them out on a small label.
Demos.
I thought that was a demo someone sent you for harm reduction.
No.
That's how good it sounds.
Demo release will be available on the self-defense tour for between 3 and 5 debt credits.
Yes. And it will include a USB that has writings on tax redirection and also how to 3D print your own handgun.
And the Anarchist Cookbook.
If you want, I'll make a little I make paper sometimes. It'll be recycled from old books.
Oh, I like this.
Yeah, so
Yes.
we'll make a little thing and maybe I'll screen it with like fruit dyed ink or something.
I'm
like
with that.
because I can do that. Okay.
Why is this
Does anybody
happening?
remember when the only place I ever really saw this was the Earth Crisis releases that said made on recycled paper using soy-based inks?
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes.
I got to check to see if that's still a thing that is seen as more efficient for the environment or not. I don't know.
Just checking something.
Okay. Core.
Hardcore.
We did an episode a while ago. We called it Unsolved Mysteries, and really it was about rewritten history, and rewritten histories of bands, and that just to kind of give you the explanation, the long blah blah. Sometimes over time, things get misremembered, views get skewed, perceptions change, stories change. And we're kind of with that. But sometimes you got to go, wait a second. That doesn't... Wait, really? That's not right, is it? And so here we are to check some of those stories. And again, we say your timeline is not the truth. Your truth might be different than our truth, but we're trying to give you at least a version of it that we're vetting through 3 people.
That's a good way to put that. Who controls the narrative? So, where do we want to start?
I'm going to start with a band from the Garden State. One might call them Garden State hardcore. If you're of a certain vintage, you might remember their shirts with that on them. Talking about Ensign.
Okay.
You guys are both familiar with the band Ensign?
I am familiar.
I think a band that I saw by accident more than any other band, maybe besides Hatebreed.
I am not surprised by that.
You saw Hatebreed by accident?
Yeah, when I first was going to shows in Albany, Hatebreed was...
Played everything?
I want to say that they were in their like most will jump on anything tour cycle.
Yeah, against all opposition.
Yeah. So I think I've seen Hatebreed and Ensign a lot by accident.
And that makes sense. Ensign popped off. So what's the current narrative of Ensign? And I say this, they haven't been a band for a pretty long time now. Is that accurate? Like not an active band. Like those dudes are still around. They still do stuff. Tim, for example, is in the band Fuck It, I Quit. A pretty active band. But they haven't been an active band. They haven't released a new record since like 2003. Something like that.
Right.
Really?
I think so. Yeah. There might have been an EP after that.
What was that? Was the last record? Wasn't the covers record? Was it?
Hate the music, love the music, hate the kids.
Was
Yes,
that-
that's the last record.
That's the last thing they reissued. Wow.
So, the thing that's happened is that they have been written out of a large swath of history from the time period I'm going to talk about, which is the late 90s. And this late 90s revival.
Yeah.
You know, there was a lot of these bands. Floor Punch, 10-Yard Fight, In My Eyes.
So that's a simple math right there. People have repainted the 90s to mean 90s hardcore, quote unquote, which now they see as a genre, which is Earth Crisis and Strife. You know what I mean? That's basically what people paint as 90s hardcore, which I'm okay with that being the genre. I'm okay with that being quote unquote 90s hardcore.
Sure.
But that certainly doesn't tell the actual story.
I think 15 years ago, I would have said 90s hardcore was more like, was more to me the slower new age stuff, but then obviously the Victory stuff. I feel like that definition has shifted more to the populist view, which is like, yeah, Earth Crisis was more important and relevant than the new age stuff.
Right.
Snapcase was more popular and relevant and probably more important. Strife kind of came from the new age world, but we're more a Victory band. And that stuff, and still there's the nod at the new age stuff for sure. The Outspokens, the Unbrokens, the Mouthpiece, those are there. But I'm talking about the late 90s where there's the revival, right?
Right.
And people still remember Floor Punch. Floor Punch is the one that survived out of that. Is that, you think, an accurate thing?
Of that, yeah.
Yeah, right. And I mean, if you like that kind of stuff, Floor Punch is the top of the pops. Then you go to In My Eyes. They were quality. Like, there was a time In My Eyes was probably more popular and a busier band than Floor Punch was.
Oh, definitely.
Right? And that's kind of forgotten too. 10-Yard Fight. They, maybe out of all of these bands, because of their name and imagery, was striking and was a brand in a way that the rest of those bands weren't quite. And like, I think they were a lot of introductory because it was like, oh, this is a football straight edge band. What? You know? But they weren't, by the end, they weren't as popular other than being like a name that was known throughout. And everyone either hated them or kind of liked them and thought they were cool. In 1996, 1997, I think it's almost undeniable that Ensign was right in that bag with those kind of bands. Yeah. They weren't a straight edge band, but they were in that world. And they played those shows with the floor punch, 10-yard fights, fast break, Rain on the Parade, Rancor, Atari, all that kind of stuff. And even more so than that, they weren't in the second tier. The second tier is when you get down to Rain on the Parade and Atari and Rancor. There's a whole world of that. They were right there with the floor punch and In My Eyes and 10-yard fight bands.
I would say globally, they were bigger than
they got
almost
bigger.
all of those bands.
They absolutely got bigger. And I think they were probably at the time, I'm talking like that early era, 96, 97. Because they definitely got bigger. I don't even think you can make an argument other than maybe In My Eyes on a recognized level, but Ensign toured more than them and played more than them.
I mean, Ensign would
bigger
sell out
tours
Gilman and do
They did a lot. Their early stuff, they released 2 7-inches on Indecision, then do an LP on Indecision. I think the 2 7-inches are like 96, 97, and then the LP comes out 97 as well, or later on in 97. Those 2 7-inches are right in that lane. It's faster than most of the new age catalog of stuff. It has some of those undertow, like you can tell that it's coming from some people who like 90s stuff, but it's more influenced by New York. They're sick of it all influences. There's parts of those first 2 7-inches where I hear Youth of Today. There's also a lot of Vision, a lot of like almost melodic leaning into the Verbal Assault style type thing, but they were a part of that world and they've been written out of it.
Yes.
Like they're not talked about. They were on the Growing Stronger comp, but they are written out of it. My reason, they were too good at being a band.
Okay.
They were pro.
They went pro.
Let's
Always
speak
touring,
on that
yeah.
because my role for this particular band is going to be to occasionally ask questions because while I've seen this band many times, all the bands you just listed
Yes.
in that scene are of zero interest to me.
Correct.
And I want to contribute to the conversation.
Except In My Eyes. You said you liked In My Eyes.
I mean, of those acts, that's probably. Yeah, I mean,
No 10-yard fight, huh?
I don't see him liking
I think
really?
I own the material, but like
Hardcore Pride? Man,
That's great.
I mean,
I'm down. Sign me up.
You never.
I think if we listen to it now, like Bob, you probably revisited it ahead of them announcing that they were doing a show. I'd imagine, or
I revisited it at some point. Yeah, in the last year.
In the last year, Tom, you revisit?
Yeah.
10 year? Okay.
Yeah.
Does it stand up at all?
Yeah, actually, Hardcore Pride does, and the last record does.
What's the last one? The Only Way, or is
The Only Way?
Yeah,
The Only Way. Yeah, it goes Hardcore Pride, which is so there's Demo 95,
right.
Hardcore Pride, which is a 7-inch CD on EVR, puts out both together. Then there's the highly anticipated but ultimately very disappointing LP, Back on Track.
Right.
And then the final 7-inch, The Only Way. Production on all of them is pretty good. Hardcore Pride, it's funny because in terms of like New York style, like mosh parts, there's almost none, but there's a lot of 90s parts on it and a lot of like borderline chuggy parts, but they were slightly faster and branded themselves
Right.
cleaner. So
Yep.
that's 10-yard fight. But the production holds up decently. Could I possibly connect to it like I did when I was 16?
Yeah. Sure.
No.
Yeah.
But,
So
there is a tongue-in-cheek nature to it that, like,
yes.
enables it to, like, they're being serious, but there's a self-awareness of, like, okay.
We're also singing about football.
Yeah. Back in 82 when the Cowboys were strong.
we played flag football all day long.
Yeah,
Until-
you lost me. I mean,
Until 83 when Dad said it was time. We played tackle together. We crossed the goal line.
I don't know if there's real sentiment baried in there, or if that's
Those
just the
days are
goofiest
gone.
thing
Can't
ever.
get it back. I mean, I
Jesus.
know all the lyrics, maybe for every 10-yard fight song.
All right, I didn't mean to
It's rough.
derail us.
Anyway,
Let's go
so-
back. Ensign is different than that because Ensign, as you said, was maybe too serious for some.
I mean, all right. So say we know Floor Punch and tour.
No. Did like
In
one
My
tour.
Eyes tour, but
Tour.
the only thing I can think of, and this is probably totally off, the only In My Eyes tour I can think of is the Rev one with Speak and Better Than 1,000.
I believe they did that, and I believe they did maybe one other, and they did like a West Coast weekend. They did a fly out West Coast weekend. They did the Rev tour, and then they did Europe They might have done Europe. They did Europe at least once, maybe twice, and ended up breaking up during the. They did a European tour. I don't know if they did two. They did a European tour where they went over, and the singer left the band, and they had roadies finish it up, and that essentially signaled the end of the band. They broke up on their last show was Edge Day 2000. They. From 1998 on, I think their shows in the U.S. were relatively sparse after the Rev tour.
All right. Yeah, I'm just saying this in comparison to, like, say, Ensign.
And Ensign, I think from like 97 on, toured like
Constantly.
a fucking, like a motorboat. And their first 2 7-inches came out on Indecision. Their first LP came out on Indecision. What people don't know is that then you go through everything else. 10-Yard Fight, their first 7 inches on Big Wheel, which did well, but then then is reissued on EVR. Decent sized label, big. Indecision was as big as EVR at that time, or close. Same distribution at least. Floor Punch, they get their demo and 7-inch reissued on EVR as Gold Line Stand. But 7-inch comes out on In My Blood, small label. In My Eyes, self-release demo that comes out a little later than that stuff. I think the In My Eyes demo is 97, maybe 96, maybe 96. And then goes right to Revelation. But the Ensign stuff comes out on Indecision and gets attention and gets out there everywhere, and they go tour. And like my comparison is they looked around, and everybody looked around and looked at the late 80s and what was going on. And Ensign was like, oh, we can be sick of it all. Sick of It All does the way it does the Together comp, does their 7-inch on Rev. The stuff goes redone on The Way It Is. And then they go and do their LP on, is it?
Oh, it's on In Effect.
In Effect. And they bust out. And they just say, oh, we're not going to be like just a New York band. We're not going to just do this. We can do this and do more. And that's what Ensign did. I think they followed that model. And they went and toured. And they toured with a bunch of bands.
Toured with Good Riddance.
And then do a split with Good Riddance, which
on
is where I
Orphaned
think
Records.
they're on Orphan. Shout out Jerry.
What's up?
Also did the Uprise 7-inch. Shout out. Also did the H2O Can't Get Off the Phone 7-inch.
I own it.
Shout out Sperm, who's the nickname of the dude who drew the cover of the H2O Can't Get Off the Phone 7-inch. It was a contest, so look at that record.
Quite the artiste.
Is that right?
Oof. Not good.
He was a pro skater though. It's good for him.
We fall on his head a lot.
I'm sure he did. So regardless, I think they by the time their LP comes out, they were a big band. Like a lot of the dudes who were a little older than me in New Jersey looked at Ensign the same way they looked at Floor Punch. Mm-hmm. Like this is a band this is our band. Like a lot of these dudes who were around for the last stages of Mouthpiece and loved it. But no, here's our bands, Ensign and Floor Punch. Awesome. But the Ensign LP comes out, and I actually listened to it. It's good. I always was like, I like the first Ensign 7-inch. I really like, because it was the 90s, and that's the record I got. And I didn't have the second 7-inch, and I didn't have the LP, but that's the stuff I was most familiar with. When I would see them live, those were the songs I was waiting for. That was the shit I liked. And then I got that other stuff, and I was like, oh, this is good. But I listened to it objectively. I'm like, oh, objectively, the first 7-inch is the most 90s. The second 7-inch is faster and actually has parts that I was like, oh, this is really good. More so, I like this production-wise. It was the worst production they had, I think. And then I listened to the LP, and I'm like, I don't know why I wrote this off. This is good-ish. Like, this is cool. They play, and they start getting huge. They got more popular than all those other bands I was talking about, at least for a minute.
With who?
Nationally. Note that these bands, everyone else we're talking about, I think 10 Yard Fight toured a little bit, but didn't tour like in the middle of the country. Ensign was doing full U.S. tours.
But I guess what I'm asking is, who's the fan?
Everybody.
Like they were
Kids.
doing Good Riddance tours. They were doing Sick of It All tours. They were doing AFI tours.
Yeah.
They were playing to a large audience. And that's why their second LP comes out on Nitro.
Okay,
Which is
right.
a bigger label. Nitro's the label that did all the early AFI material.
Yeah.
I think the dude from Offspring owned it.
Dexter Holland.
Yeah.
Pretty fly for a white guy.
Sure.
Fun fact, their offices were right down the road from Revelation for a very long time.
And apparently they were next door to Indecision.
Incision was like in the Rev offices, I think.
Oh, maybe that's why.
Yeah.
That's what it says on the doing some Wikipedia.
Oh, nice.
Well, yeah.
All right, so
So I think they got written out of it. And I'm not going to stand here for them. Like, I really like the first 7-inch, partial nostalgia. I think if you're somebody who likes stuff from the world of verse, have heart, that kind of material, if you listen to Ensign, you'd probably like it.
Yeah. Like Strife.
Strife for sure. Yeah, there's another easy comparison point. But like, they get lost. They were very much like a Terror, that Terror has had ups and downs in popularity. Mm-hmm. Ensign wasn't at the same scale that Terror always has been at, but they were in a level where it was like, hey, this is a band who can go tour and, you know, I'm not going to count people's pockets, but like they did the band full time, you know, and were very successful. I've told the story of being at Chicago Fest, which was a largely punk hardcore fest, like on the more like punkish side of things, and Ensign fucking killed it. They didn't steal the show, but they might as well have, because the entire room was circle pitting for them in spring 2000, in a time where their shows in New Jersey had dipped a little bit. And then they came back. Like, they're a band who I get to watch in that time period go up and down, and I don't think they get the due that they actually deserve. So I want to give props to that and say that their history got kind of written differently than it actually is. I don't think they're a band people talk about much today, but like, they totally were a part of that world. They were a band who was part of the resurgence in more classical late 80s sounding hardcore coming back, and they were totally a part of it.
Yeah, and I mean, in Jersey, they were a phenomenon.
Yeah. Oh, their shows, and you know, in thinking about this, I talked to some of my friends who were a little older, and they're like, yeah, Ensign shows were bigger than Floor Punch shows for a minute, and even when they were even keel. I saw them at the same shows, and the Ensign reaction would be just as big as Floor Punch, and vice versa.
Yeah.
You know, so.
And they toured a lot, man.
Yeah.
How do you sell this to a kid, though? Like, look, I don't know anyone who is young who name checks Ensign.
I know.
And
my sell would be, they sonically are more reminiscent of stuff that I hear now and stuff that I heard 10 years ago than Floor Punch. And that I don't, you know what I mean? Like, for as much love as Floor Punch gets, and I love Floor Punch, a band I really enjoy, I see a lot of bands who say they sound like them or kind of sound, and they don't.
No one really sounds like Floor Punch.
No, you know why? Because a lot of them miss the story, which is like, yeah, they have like New York style drum beats and like break parts, but they're also going for really fast.
Right.
You know, like, if you want to sound like them, listen to Bright Side, but strip out some of the more metal leads, and then listen to Straight Ahead and speed it up.
Yeah.
And so it's hard. I think, like I really do. An early Axe Grind episode, we somehow made a Have Heart Ensign comparison, and I hear that, both being kind of like Strife adjacent parts, and then also having slightly melodic parts that add in. Like, if you're just hearing this and you like any of the bands I've mentioned, and I even heard Chain of Strength parts in a song. I'm
Tim
like,
would
wow,
be so bummed.
that's okay, but I hear it, and you know, like,
I can hear that too. Yeah.
You know, I just think that that's a band who unduly, like, they had an interesting relationship with New Jersey. And I mean, this is a thing where I could say it to a lot of places, where a place falls in love with your band and then falls out of love, and then a new crop falls in love with your band and they fall out of love.
Were you in attendance at the Floor Punch Ensign football game?
No, I was too young for that.
Oh, wait, okay, because that was like kind of like
that was a
legendary.
Yeah, Floor Punch won by a lot.
I mean, they had like fucking didn't like
Porter played the
college football.
Yeah, he blew out his knee, or he would have probably gone to Florida State. Shout out.
He's
a big dude.
Was it Detox? Like someone
Detox
did
was a
zine?
ringer. Did he do a zine?
Someone
about it?
I found. I'll have to find it, but there's definitely a like a write up about it. Like,
Look,
Ensign got slaughtered.
Here's the deal.
Yeah, Nate
Ensign,
Gluck
I
going
believe
against
the
fucking
deal.
Porter.
The way people put it is, it was a football game, and one team of like punk dudes who came from a punk background showed up, and the other team came named Floor Punch, and they knew how to play football.
Right, they had cleats, and Tim showed up in like cutoff shorts.
Yeah, so yeah, but
legendary.
And Floor Punch burned out bright, you know, and Ensign, it's not
I hope they don't take this in any sort of way, but they faded out a little bit, but they kept doing, they weren't fading out. They played everywhere and they did banging numbers in a lot of places.
Yeah.
And a lot of people loved them. And it's just,
They were an entry point band for a lot of people.
Yeah, they
More
were.
age range.
Right, that I recall.
and I think it's, you guys are Sick of It All super fans, so this is said at a level below. But they did a lot of things that Sick of It All was doing. They were doing the grimy work, touring, playing, and they played a lot of places and opened up a lot of spots to do hardcore shows.
Yeah.
So props to them. I think that I can still listen to the first 7-inch and the second 7-inch. It's all out there. And the first LP is really good. They lose me on the second LP musically. It just wasn't my thing. And then they do a third LP where they change it up sonically. But I think that's what happens. They kind of caught flack for that at the time, but they had been a band for 6 years. And they were doing the thing. The legend always goes, if Floor Punch was going to write a record after Fast Times, they were going to have to learn how to write metal leads. Because they're like, oh, if we're going to do this, our next record's got to be like New York style. Like we're going to have to do Brightside meets Born to Expire, kind of like metal leads.
I wish that there was a way, like everything. I haven't disagreed with anything that's been said here. I just feel like Ensign is really far out of the collective consciousness right now, and I don't know. Like everything we said, I'm curious. If you are say under 25 and you're hearing this, and write us.
Okay, if you were born after 1993.
There you go. Write us and tell us if you know what Ensign is.
Yep.
Be honest. Doesn't matter. Nobody's
we don't
judging
care.
you.
Yeah, we're not.
And what, if any, significance it has, like where you would tier it.
No, and I don't think they would. And it's hard because it's like, look, I'm assuming that
Like, do
based on
people think that's just a New Jersey thing?
and they might. And it wasn't because they were doing better.
Please, I know, but
Yeah.
like,
They killed
and they
California.
did.
And
Yeah.
stuff.
There is probably times, and I know that this is true, where they would go on tour and do much better than they did in New Jersey.
Right.
And like that's not just Ensign. That's a lot of bands. Like I think there's a lot of myths. The band Mental, they had a couple big shows in Boston, but outside of the big shows, they'd play there and it'd be empty room.
right.
Or because and there was just different scenes in that place, and like the small shows that have heart when they were just starting, and Guns Up when they were just starting, Verse when they were just starting, were playing, weren't really a part of the like Mental scene. And the Mental scene was people who were getting older, and that was different. Ensign was doing big tours, and when they'd come home, sometimes they'd have a big show and sometimes they wouldn't. And then New Jersey was starting to do new things, and then there'd be a new wave of people who embraced them, or people who were like, nah, that's not what we're not a part of that. That's fine.
I'm gonna find like a silk dress to put on Ensign because we just need to make this sexier because I feel like and
it's hard because I think, is there a sexiness to things that were really heavy a part of that? Like you can get away with telling the story of the late 90s revival stuff, the like Floor Punch, In My Eyes, 10-Yard Fight, and not mention Ensign. And that's kind of the part.
Oh.
You can get away with telling that without
they fall
mentioning
between narratives. That makes sense. Okay.
There you go.
Right, because
And
they were playing the Fat Records and Nitro shows where, Four Punch is an opening for fucking, whatever the fuck.
Right, and
Wizzo,
sonically, it's not. It's neither fully that nor is it new age. But
what I mean? It wasn't clear. But to make it very clear, they were an entry point band, but they were clearly not an Uncanny Valley band.
Right.
They were clearly a hardcore band who started and stayed that. But they got to a size where then it was like, here's these opportunities being offered to us. We're going to do this, and we're going to work hard. And they opened the door for a lot of other bands to do stuff like that. But that might have hurt. That might have undermined their, quote unquote legacy or long-standing thing. And to be quite honest, if you go back to that time period, their material holds up better than a lot of second tier shit that people might throw them into.
Right.
Okay.
And I don't think there are any tier. Like, it's Four Punch and nothing else. To most younger kids.
To younger people,
Yes.
it's Floor Punch. Then the tier under that, I think you get 10-Yard Fight and In My Eyes.
I think that's even a stretch.
I
don't know
think
if there
there's
is
a gap.
second tier.
I think
they
there's
might
a
be
gap.
the third tier, and there is no second tier.
Okay. And then there's a tier below that, which is where you get all the like maybe, and Hands Tied used to be a tier above that because that record came out in EVR. It used to be, but then they got bumped down just because it's been lost in the sands of time.
Totally
but then
lost.
you get Atari's, the Rain on the Parades, the Rancors, the stuff that's like, oh, I'm into this. Let me dig harder to find what's under the surface.
Right,
and see if there's any hidden gems. So Ensign was at the time in that group A of these bands and has been written out of that, and they were a part of that.
Okay. I guess myself and our listeners, go check out Ensign. You know what I mean? It's been a while. It's been many years for me.
And my recommendation is that they did a compilation CD, 3 years, something months, days. That serves kind of as their Black Flag first 4 years.
Right.
That's the stuff I dig into. The first LP, Direction of Things to Come, is worth checking out too. So,
Boom.
all right. Rewritten history.
What do we got? This one is me lobbing a ball up in the air and hoping you guys catch it. Texas is the reason.
That the president's dead.
Named it after a Misfits song. Very clearly did not like the Misfits. They said that in interviews. They're like, yeah, we don't really like the Misfits. We just thought it was a cool line.
Yeah, I mean, that's cool to me. That's cool. I like that sort of I like that sort of shit.
I don't mind it. It just it comes off with a. Is Texas the reason pretentious?
In
The band or
1996 or
the words?
97, yes. Right now, definitely not. Like,
No,
Norman is definitely...
low tier pretentious now. Yeah, like
Well, not... I mean, like, he's, But I mean, I think at the time, there was a pretension to a lot of that shit. Not just them.
And it was to use a phrase from the last show, manufactured. I think it was part of the vibe that was trying to be given off by indie adjacent bands.
Well, I mean, let's be
Right.
realistic. As someone who's around, or as I was out, as people say, like in like Joe Budden style.
I was out.
He's outside. Like 96, 97. You would never see like Walter Schreifels at a hardcore show.
That's true.
You might fucking look next to you and Walter Schreifel's standing next to you watching a fucking hardcore band now.
Yep.
Right.
But back then, it was very much like the haves and the have-nots. At that time, Texas Reason was one of the haves.
okay.
Were they a successful post-hardcore band or a failed indie band?
I'm saying failed indie.
I'm saying successful hardcore, post-hardcore.
I'm saying failed indie.
Really?
I think they were successful for post-hardcore, but they had their intentions set on much more.
They picked the wrong label.
Yes.
Yeah, but I think they
I mean,
picked,
if that's what they wanted.
but I think for their launch pad, at the time, they picked the right one for getting out there. It's just they never climbed the rung to the next level.
And they also broke
You know
up
what I mean?
early.
Like I think they saw Quicksand.
Sure.
And now that was a long time before, but then they saw like the numbers into another 95, 5 years, which now doesn't feel like a lot, but it was a lot. I think
What, Texas Reason?
Texas Reason came out in 95 or 96.
Yeah.
And the Quicksand EP came out in 90. So I think they
I
saw
thought you
stuff
meant
like
like the stuff getting
No,
big.
no, yeah,
'cause
but like
Quicksand,
Slip-
nobody cared until...
no, till Slip.
Yeah.
But you know what? People cared enough to sign them to a big label. And I
Sure.
think they wanted that. And Revelation at the time. So Revelation in the 90s. Basically, they have the classic era in the late 80s. And then they start doing all those dudes' bands, next bands, which I think is pretty fucking cool. And that became a lot of post-hardcore, some weird music, Iceburn, etc. And some of those bands popped. At the time, all those records were everywhere the fuck you could look in independent record stores.
Yes. And
If I could tell you ship numbers on what was going out, you would pop your brain because the numbers were the 90s when everyone was still buying these shiny things called compact discs. So
5 figures? Oh, that's easy. So 10,000
for
up.
Texas? Oh yeah.
That's it.
Oh, for everything.
Really?
For everything was getting that. Was
Wow.
5 figures. Like things you wouldn't expect were shipping over that
Whirlpool?
to start.
Wow.
okay.
Chinchilla.
No, not Onion either. That was Crisis though.
Oh.
You want to hear something crazy?
Of course.
I couldn't name a Texas is the Reason song. I don't have a strong impression or imprint with this band at all. This stuff was totally off my radar. But it was, and in my circles, it was derided. It wasn't cool.
Me too. Same.
And that's not, for people at home, that's not a reason not to check something out. But I was very late.
you're a
to-
child,
young,
it is.
Yeah, when
Yeah.
you're young.
And
When you're young and you're given the option, and it also wasn't the infinite pool that we swim in now. When everyone goes, oh fuck that shit, that's bad.
Right.
You have money that you're making a decision with, and going, well, everyone says that's bad. maybe I'll try this thing I haven't heard anything about over the thing that people say is bad.
True.
But anyways,
I just remember it being a big deal, and now not at all. And like, we talk about age and we talk about who controls narrative, and I would argue ultimately it's always young-ish people. Not young people, but young-ish people. And then old people have narratives that they've been hanging on to for a long time that aren't going to change for them. There's people within the sound of my voice for whom Texas is the reason means nothing. They might only know the name, and there are people who think I'm insane for saying that. You know what I mean? Both people are hearing this. Mm-hmm. What is the divide age-wise?
I think it might be us.
Yeah. So you're saying it's high. You're saying, like, do people under 30, is it 30 or is it 35? Which one is it?
I think it might be 35.
Okay.
Which is crazy because I feel like I'm too young to listen to Texas Reason.
That's
I
it.
feel like,
That's interesting.
I feel like, no, and I don't say this in a mean way. When I got into things, I was the most hardcore of my friends, meaning like my friends were more punk. But I liked a lot of punk, but I also liked a lot of post-hardcore that my friends who were more punk didn't really ride for. I liked a lot more metalish hardcore, which is funny to say in this room, than most of my friends did. And I also liked a lot more indie-leaning stuff, maybe, or was more curious about that. Texas the Reason was ever present at that time, 96, 97, everywhere. And I remember checking out and being like, this does nothing for me.
Sure.
And I didn't know anyone who was younger than me that rode for it. Now, I knew plenty of people who were older than me that kind of rode for it, but I didn't know anyone younger than me, and I don't know that I still do, other than a few people who may be a year or two within the age of me. But like, if that record comes out, did that record come out in 96?
Yeah.
Do you know who you are comes out in 1996? I think they did a single before that.
Yes.
In 1996, I was turning 15. Yes, turning 15. So 15, 16, I probably hear that record. I felt like I was listening to calculus when I was in third grade, like trying to do calculus when I'm doing simple math. And I'm like, and I was a little into shit. Like, I was already into quicksand-ish stuff, like some post-hardcore stuff. But then years later, I'm working at Revelation. I checked it out again, and it just didn't do it for me.
Oh man, I love it.
Yeah,
please.
Love it.
Speak to it, because I feel like I am dyeing my hair different colors and listening to Tekashi 6ix9ine because I feel so like this stuff feels like old man shit to me, and that's crazy. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's crazy.
Well, that's the same thing. Yeah, I'm feeling the same, but I don't. Yeah. Anyways,
You feel like that? I don't know.
Well, like early in this podcast's life, we talked about Fugazi and how it's insane, utterly insane to us that is not an important band, because it was even if it didn't mean anything to any one of us in particular, you couldn't take
ever present.
You couldn't take a step in subculture without bumping into it.
And I feel like for a while, Texas the Reason, it wasn't to the level that Fugazi was, but that was a band that was everywhere and was something that everyone knew. If you didn't like it, you still knew what it was and still know what it was about.
But are we assuming this?
Yeah,
We're asking it. Yeah.
No, but I'm saying I think we're assuming what we think younger people listen to.
I'm gonna text the young people in my phone, but because I'm now old, none of them are that young.
Because I feel like the other day Amelia tweeted something. I was like, oh shit.
Amelia, I don't know how average she is on that shit.
No, but I mean, I think you'd be probably, random people that just, I think they're probably more into it than you would assume.
Okay, hold on. I'm texting people, state your age and your feelings on Texas is the Reason.
Are you doing a group chat on this?
Hold on.
So they had that 7-inch on Revelation. Mm-hmm. And then the LP, which was the only thing that they had, Do You Know Who You Are?
Yes.
Which apparently is the last thing that John Lennon heard.
What?
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that line.
Like, do you know who you are? Mm. Boom.
Oh, and Texas is the Reason that the president's dead.
And they also had, to build on that, they had a song called Back and to the Left.
That's a big song.
That's the hit.
One hit wonder.
But it's also it's alluding to JFK.
Right.
And there's also Magic Bullet Theory is one of their songs also. So like they may not like the Misfits, but they bought in on the whole Kennedy conspiracy thing.
They got the vibe, yeah.
But nothing, like it doesn't do anything for you.
You know what? I would have to revisit it with my current ears. Maybe I to me, it was easy listening as a kid. Like straight up, it was just not.
But did you hate like Sensefield and all that shit too at the time?
Okay, wild
Far
story.
Side,
Wild story about Sensefield. Sensefield to me, I actually like Sensefield even into the weird Christian era.
Wow.
I think Sensefield does.
That weird green cover EP.
I think that they do a like a quicksand parts, but not quicksand sort of major label rock. I think they did it very, very well.
And John Bunch had an amazing voice.
That's true. Yeah. A remarkable voice.
Reason to Believe, good record.
So I find Sensefield much more interesting than I ever found Texas Is the Reason.
So I feel like all those bands were Pearl Jam for hardcore kids that weren't allowed to like
Correct.
Pearl Jam.
That's
like at the day.
I think there's
you couldn't roll up to a show wearing a Pearl Jam shirt,
Yeah.
but you could get away with wearing a Sensefield.
But I liked Sensefield. I love Far Side. I love Orange Rhyming Dictionary.
Jets to Brazil.
Jets to Brazil. I love it. But I don't like Jawbreaker. But I keep going. I got to revisit again. And I'm going to revisit Texas again. Wow. Fantastic. But I for whatever reasons, it didn't connect. And like a lot of that stuff, like I'll ride for.
Yeah.
I'm in on. But Texas, but like the rewritten from history, I don't hear their name thrown out, bandied about.
No.
But I'm getting response now to the group text throw out.
Yeah.
People saying that they like them.
I mean, that's also revisionist.
My significant other, who's 32, gave the shrug emoji.
But is she not into that at all?
No, she's into some of that stuff, but isn't familiar with a lot of it. But I think she hits a funny blind spot in time where they were not super relevant. But I think younger people than us might. Our former correspondent, who hopefully we'll have her back sometime, Izzy, says she does like them. She's a bit of an outlier because she's like a music nerd.
Right.
Alex Casey, another outlier music nerd. Like them but don't love them. What about you? I feel like that's a band that majority of people love. He's another outlier.
See?
Huh?
Trey McCarthy. What is it?
Trey McCarthy, he says.
He's double the age of most of the people.
Yeah, he's in the older, slightly older. I actually really do like them, but I didn't like them for a while.
No,
He's got a story.
Oh, okay.
But
That'll be off the air.
But
I mean, it's hardcore dudes.
yes, I think they
Jump from one away.
Yeah,
Pat.
that's a good way to put it. Is that they were like Pearl Jam. They were alt for people who felt like they weren't allowed to like alt.
Right. They, like, you couldn't roll up to like a Marauder show wearing a fucking Pearl Jam or a Soundgarden shirt. I've made that mistake.
Did you?
That's serious. I
made that mistake.
In 2018, you couldn't be cooler for doing that.
Yeah, like
Oh, yeah.
I rolled up to like a fucking, I don't know if it was like Fight or one of those bands, but it was like, oh, this is just skinheads beating the shit out of metalheads. I rolled up in like a fucking Bad Motor Finger shirt, which right now I could probably get fucking
$400.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And literally I just caught the looks.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, like I was like gonna get beaten.
You're going over the merch table. I'll buy one of those, please.
Yeah. Yes, whatever it is, size extra large, please. They're looking at me funny. I love that band. I saw them a bunch of times. I saw them. I saw them at the Academy, open for Civ and Quicksand, Texas Reason.
Oh wow. Oh yeah. Yeah.
And Justin fell asleep on me. Like literally, like we were on the subway, like passed out next to me. So them and Civ at Coney Island High, like they did a lot of stuff.
And they were like, I think the part that we're trying to get to, even without a love or enjoyment from Patrick or I, is that they were a really big band, and they were. I mean, would it be fair to compare them to their presence in hardcore is a lot like Turnover now? And I don't like to cite them that much, but I really feel that's a pretty good.
I can see that.
Like,
I mean, I think it's also
they were maybe more. They were. I don't know if they were even more popular than Turnover. I think they were a similar level of popularity as Turnover.
It's hard to say,
but there was just a much higher ceiling then. Like you could really see. Like
we're also spoiled. We're in New York.
That's right.
You know what I mean?
But if you had told me in 1997, Texas Is the Reason is going to be as big as Pearl Jam in the next 10 years, I might have believed you.
Yeah. Although it's like at the same time you'd be like, yeah, but they're hardcore.
Yeah.
So they're only going to go
So they're
far.
doomed.
You know what I mean? Like you'd go,
Yeah, they're
like they're
doomed.
going to do well, And they did do well, you know what I mean? But I don't think, and I think it's also revisionist history because they were the biggest of the bunch back then.
Yes.
And then, Jimmy Eat World ended up being the biggest of all of those bands.
That's actually a really funny one to talk about. Is the Jimmy Eat World?
They were a fucking emo band. They were
an emo core band.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, and then,
They opened for most of these bands.
Yes, but then Mineral became the thing that everybody loved, and Texas the Reason wasn't. And then, American...
Like Texas the Reason, would you say it's safe to say they were bigger than Jawbreaker?
No.
No, you think Jawbreaker was bigger? Yeah, okay.
But I mean, even if you look at it now, like American football draws fucking thousands and thousands of kids everywhere.
That's right.
Were they that big back then? Not that I recall.
No, I don't think so.
You know what I mean?
But that when we talk about narrative, we talk about like American football versus Appleseed Cast, and one of those bands can draw on these reunions and the other one cannot.
That's
and
right.
There doesn't seem to be any rhyme or reason.
Right. I mean, American football sold out like 2 or 3 nights at like Terminal 5.
Yeah.
So Jawbreaker reunions are pretty fucking big.
Were
Right.
Yeah.
Would a Jets to Brazil reunion be half that size?
No.
I don't think so. And I fall in the weird minority category who fucks with that.
I mean, that stuff is really
Super
good, but I feel like, number one, a lot of people got to see them
Yep.
because they didn't break up that long ago.
Yep.
And I think it's just
People who
those
wanted
songs
to
are
see them
good. Those songs are great, but they're not hitting people like it hit
Really?
Jawbreaker
Man,
hit them.
I guess I got to listen to Jawbreaker again, but it's
a
Orange
lot-
Rhyming Dictionary is it for me. Like of that world, that's it. It's crazy.
Listen to Dear You
I will.
and see,
I'll try it again. I'm gonna.
Pat, what do you got?
You know what? I'm asking. Firstly,
Oh, your young folk.
yeah, I don't have any. The youngest person in my phone is my girlfriend at 22. Like I don't see.
Hello,
any,
fellow young people.
Yeah, I don't see anybody.
Yeah, I had a 21-year-old, a 26-year-old, and a couple of 30-somethings.
I just asked a 30-year-old because I was like, oh, I got.
You're the youngest guy I know.
I wonder if there's a blind spot. I wonder if there's a weird blind spot for people in the my age to maybe 5 to 8 years later who either got in when Texas the Reason was on their way up and out and because they never did a second record.
No, they were supposed to sign to Elektra and they broke up.
That's right. So they never did that, where there was kind of a fatigue or a disinterest post, and then that extends until they kind of became something that was out of memory to be like, oh, hey, wait, what about this?
Right.
25. I enjoy them. I said, state your age and your feelings on Texas is the reason. 25. I enjoy them a decent amount. Happy I got to see them live when they did that run with Title Fight. I don't recall that.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I remember that.
Happy that I have an original pressing of the LP. Very nerdy statement. They have a couple songs I think are truly perfect. I think on that split with Promise Ring, they got cucked by the Promise Ring, who wrote a song that sounds like Texas is the Reason, but better than Texas is the Reason.
Wow.
It's a deep dive.
That's impressive. You see, I think we...
Is that on? Did you throw it on Twitter yet?
No, I have
Throw
not.
it on Twitter.
All right.
I think we're
Throw it on
assuming
Twitter.
things about young folks. They're more like wide
I think they
open.
might be looking at it more now than people when I was young were looking back to it.
Well,
know what
because
I mean?
I think you can say I wonder what that Texas is the Reason band's are about. Go into Spotify and go
know.
listen to it.
Yeah.
You had to
I had to buy it
You had to
and
work
listen
for
to
it,
it and
or
was like-
borrow from somebody. Hey,
Yeah.
make me a tape of that or whatever.
And I was
the fuck.
disappointed. And I talk about it a lot, like the band Kill Holiday, who have a single, the Never Meant to Let You Down, or Meant to
so
Let You Down, or
good.
whatever.
Yeah.
It's so good. Then the LP on Rev, I pre-ordered. I got the colored vinyl. I was so excited because I played that song to death. It was one song.
was meant to let
You down, meant
So
to let you down,
good.
yeah. And an LP, and the first time I played it, I lay down on the floor in my bedroom and fell asleep on the floor. How hard is it at age 16, 17 to lay down on the floor and fall asleep? Like I had so much energy, I would bounce around my room jumping off things. I put that record on, fell asleep, and was like, "Oh, I don't like this."
love that record,
came
too.
out. Oh man,
Dude,
I've
so
tried to go
good.
back to it because I really like.
That was like his
vibe.
Smith's Morrissey fucking fantasy.
I know, and
But the split with Dempsey and the 7-inch is fucking awesome.
so good, undeniable in my opinion.
I punished poor Rob Moran about them more than I did about Unbroken. I was like, tell me more about it. And he's like, I wasn't in it that long.
Quick, brief break from the Texas the Reason talk that we'll get back to. Lots of War Profiteer talk today to Andrew Dugan. Makes sense as I got zero feedback on the thing I sent. Literally, this is the only confirmation that it was received.
That's the way I ride.
Hold on.
Is he related to Hacksaw Jim Duggan?
You know what? Maybe.
Oh, can you ask?
Is he 2 G's or is he 1 G?
2 G's.
He's 2 G's.
That's how Hacksaw Jim Duggan's.
It's true.
He is from Glen Falls, not that far.
That's the way I ride.
Okay. Texas is the reason.
That the president.
I'm asking young people. I don't know. I feel like when we do these, I love this because this is like how history works. You examine narratives and it's fun but like it really exposes that. Like my phone just exposed. Maybe I don't know enough fucking young people because.
Well, I think we assume like, they don't talk about them all the time. Like, who the fuck do they talk about?
I mean,
Think about it.
Trippie Redd.
You know what I'm saying? Like, so like if you say like, all right, sell a young kid on 4-Punch. How many other older like sell a young kid on fucking Buried Alive, sell a young kid fucking on Indecision.
No, that's a funny thing
because
I do see it's like Buried Alive. I don't think I anticipated to see that, but that's a band. Even prior to the reunions, I saw a lot more narrative about, and like I saw a lot more people talk about with more vigor than I expected. Like a band who I don't see people talk about. I don't see people talk about Reach the Sky. I don't see people talk about Texas is the Reason.
I mean, Mitch Smith would like us to know Texas ain't the reason.
Thanks, Mitch. I do see people talk about Jawbreaker. You know what I mean? I actually think I see more reference to Jets to Brazil than I do about Texas is the Reason.
Because it's a hive mind bullshit.
I know. That's true.
I mean, that's all it is. One person goes, have you heard Jets to Brazil? And of course, they're like, of course I have. And then they go scampering back and they listen to fucking Four Cornered Night and fucking get on with it. Sorry.
All right. So we'll update you. We're going to revisit Texas is the Reason once we get some feedback.
Real-time Texas is the Reason.
Love it. All right. Let's go to another one. I think I'd like to do...
Oh, okay.
Go for it. Kick it off.
So my revisionist history would be from Merrick, Long Island. Vision of Disorder. I don't think... Don't you bitch about your pain. Suffer. If anyone has a chance, this is always my favorite thing. If you have the New York Hardcore documentary, or if you want to pull it up on YouTube because it's on there, they're playing a big show. VOD's playing a big show in this big skate place out in Long Island with like 108 and all this stuff, and they're playing Suffer, and Tim goes to hand a mic to some dude, and it's like. So he hands a mic to the guy, and all the dude does is goes, "I'm all fucked up." His sing along was "I'm all fucked up," and it makes me fucking howl.
That's great.
To this day, I cannot say I've known a band to impact as hard as quickly as Vision of Disorder.
Right out the gate.
Off the demo.
So, there and wasn't in for it. Please explain to me how it happened.
I mean, it was just they were, they didn't have a bass player in the beginning. They only had 2 guitar players and a drummer and Tim. I think it's kind of routine now because you hear people that sound like him. But in 1994, you're like, what the fuck is happening with this dude's
very
voice?
different.
The singing, the screaming, like no one was really kind of doing that at the time. Like there were legendary stories of them like opening for like Korn.
Yeah.
Like when Korn was like fucking big.
Popping.
And blowing them off the stage. Or like, I was saying to somebody, we went to the PWAC on Long Island for the still 7-inch record release show. It was like, I don't know, fucking Warped Weeble Wobbles, I think.
Yeah.
And Madball.
Yeah.
And VOD, I mean, for a 7-inch release. Now think of this in today's times. A 7-inch record release show. There were like 2,300 people there.
It blows my mind.
At like a hardcore show, like a local show. It wasn't like, because they were on SFT. It wasn't like it was on road. It was like literally a hardcore show in Long Island.
Is it safe to say that a band like VOD had a lasting impact on Long Island in terms of the underground music community that's still being felt right now?
No question.
Oh, dude, you ask Incendiary, that's VOD's probably number one.
No question.
Right, and I think that's probably true for all the, like, maybe not, like, there's probably bands in the lineage who won't credit them, but they probably should because Long Island's had this, like, rich underground music history that's mostly hardcore or adjacent to it.
Yeah.
That you could point back to, VOD kicked things off and made it okay to like weirdo fucking music.
Yeah, I mean, everyone goes back to Mind Over Matter as like the real genesis of everything. Mm-hmm. But I mean, VOD, like in New York at least, and I know in like California, a lot of those bands like that ended up becoming really popular were kind of like early on the VOD shit. Mm-hmm. they were just like the biggest fucking thing, like immediately. And,
2 notes.
yes.
First, if you re-listen to the demo, it's a very difficult listen. The stuff that when those songs got re-recorded, much more care was put into the vocals.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Like there was no noise gate. You
Right.
can hear him
Yes.
like inhaling the whole
Yes.
time, which was kind of sort of the charm for it at first.
For sure.
I mean, think about 1994. Like that's what like it's fucking like 25 to Life.
Yeah.
And like, I mean, think who else is around like in New York hardcore at that point.
Right.
And for these dudes to be like, wait, what the
Well,
fuck is happening?
But in your view, did VOD? I'm not asking if they ever claimed to be New York hardcore, but how much of a pass or an invite did they get before they kind of said, "Listen, we're going to go play with the Deftones"?
I think they were Long Island hardcore for sure.
Long Island hardcore for sure.
Well, New York, I mean, they played a lot of those. They were boys with like Madball and stuff. Like
Okay,
they played.
all right.
They got the hood pass.
Okay.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, if you watch VOD shows on YouTube, and I forgot this because I did see VOD, but I forgot this. He would perform with his shirt off.
All the time. Nipple
and
rings.
Nipple rings give me the
Blazing.
biggest anxiety because people are.
I have a story about that.
Oh no! Don't tell me that story.
Did you have nipple rings?
In my life, I did have nipple rings.
Pat's afraid that he's going to stage dive and get his nipple ring.
Yes.
His nipple ripped off. That
Yes.
happened to Dan
When
Murray.
did you get rid of the nipple rings?
12.
2018?
I don't recall. Yeah, no, they're still in.
But his nipple, his areola has just grown around it.
You know what's fucking
No, have you ever
insane?
seen the nipple scarring from nipple rings? It's rough. I feel bad for.
Yeah, my nipples are hella big.
I've experienced with them, and yeah, it's a rough thing.
I mean, VOD in Jersey was a thing.
Yes.
They were like a sell out the Stone Pony kind of thing.
Yes, they led to. I think that the more heavier or like adjacent side of things would kind of say that VOD was an impetus for that too.
Yeah.
Like
VOD in Albany. Where would they play?
Jesus Christ.
I mean,
Albany has it's certain bands they just latch onto and then that's it.
yes, I think I saw.
caveman style.
I'm pretty sure I saw VOD at the QE too. I would think that's.
I mean, that's an undersell for them, I would imagine, right?
Yeah, but what choices did you have at Albany at that time besides like VOD?
Saratoga Winners, maybe?
VOD, I don't think was ever big enough to headline Winners.
Really?
Not in Albany, I don't think. Maybe. But when I think of Winners, I think of like going to see Deftones and Clutch or you know
that-
what I mean?
okay.
That sort of thing.
Got it.
And then there was always a hard because it was Ted Etal doing
Right.
most of those shows at that time, so he would hardcore bands opened for sure. But
Yeah.
but like in my memory, Winners was that slightly bigger step up, you know?
Right.
Until it became like they're not around anymore. I guess I can just call it a trash venue. Until it became like, oh hey, we have to fill this room or we have to get something in. Who cares if it's got who cares if it's 65 people in a room meant for 1,600? You know what I mean?
Oh, Jesus.
So
Okay. It burned down, right?
it burned down in a very classic,
Classic,
classic insurance scam.
Got
like
it.
right out of the, they didn't even bother trying to be subtle with that one.
Wasn't it like a potato chip factory or something?
That's what it looked like. That's what it smelled like. In my life, I've never been to
Like
a
the
venue
Freihofer's
with
factory?
less
Like
airflow
charm?
or ventilation.
Yeah.
Like people would smoke in there, and you could see the smoke hang directly above their heads in the
rafters,
exact
yep.
place.
Wow.
No chance of it being blown anywhere. It was a nightmare. Still, some fun shows back in the day. But
We played there with the Chromags.
okay,
FPB and the Chromags.
Cro-Mags headline.
Yeah.
How was the attendance?
It was pretty
Oh, no
crowded.
shit, okay.
It wasn't that big of a room, though, I don't think.
I think it was big.
I'm saying it's like maybe 800.
Oh, I would have given it 1,000 cap.
Really?
I would.
Not as big as Northern Lights.
No, not as big as Northern Lights. But Northern Lights, sorry for the people that don't
Sorry.
understand how local this is. I think
my
Northern
God.
Lights is a max capacity approaching 2.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, because you can count the bar.
You can
area.
move it. Yeah.
So anyway, sorry for anybody.
But I mean,
DOD played in Valentine's, June 8th, 1998.
we played
Just
with the
later.
Chromags there, and John Joseph decided to poop outside. I was like, yo, where's that guy going?
For any real reason?
And he was like, oh, he's going to take a shit. I'm like, he knows his toilet's in there, right?
Should I tell the swank story of pooping outside of the Chromags reunion? JJ was a big supporter, thought it was really funny.
That's
And
just
he
his
also
thing.
then told us the story when he shit on a plate and gave it to Harley. This is years before the book. It was
Hey,
fun.
man.
Wow.
I love shit. Have you ever heard of Gunther Weasel?
Yes. Yes.
Live in Albany at Bogey's supporting VOD in 2014.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yep.
Gunther Weasel. All right, so VOD never in my wheelhouse,
Okay.
but their level of popularity, they were big. Are they? What's their overlap with Mind Over Matter? Mind Over Matter's before, like 91, 90.
I mean, Mind Over Matter was around till probably 96, 97.
Yeah, but when they start, that's what I meant. So there was
VOD's
overlap.
like 94.
And Mind Over Matter was before
Like
that.
90, yeah.
Yeah, okay. I mean, that story you tell about there being 2,300 people at a release show, like is that a sign of the times? Like, is that like could that ever happen again?
No, we'd have to adjust for inflation going the other way, basically.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like it's like when Boston Heads will be like, "Oh, there was 900 people at the smallest show," and you'll be like, "Yeah, but that was also like when hardcore is experiencing its second stab at dubstep." You know what I mean? Like where it was like there's been 2 moments where hardcore was legitimately hot as a subculture thing, and during those times, if you were in the right type of band, big turnout. You know what I mean? So like, you can't compare them directly, but VOD was poppin', was a thing, was visible, and then Tom, would you say they lost the plot and people just bounced, or what? Because Jeremy Boehm's the only guy I've ever met in my life that likes that later record.
Which is the later record from Bliss to Devastation?
Yeah, he likes it all though.
Starring Mark Duplass, Jonathan LaJoy, and Nick Kroll, an ensemble comedy that follows a group
Why is it talking about the League?
Is that what it's doing?
Yes.
Is this Alexa or is
Yeah.
this?
Yeah.
Alexa, silence.
To make each other's lives miserable.
Alexa, be quiet.
Silence.
Okay, all right.
Wow. So yeah, the 2,300. I always tell the story.
Sorry, I'm not sure about that.
I'm gonna throw you out the window, Alexa.
Go on.
It was so crowded that I was in line to get into said show, and the guys that ran the PWAC, guys and women that ran the PWAC, like went through the line and like picked the people that they knew, and like we were like pushed into action. And like, you're working security. I had no idea what I was doing, but they were like, it was like to the point that like they're gonna like throw these porta potties in a minute if we don't get these fucking people in here. Right. It was nuts.
So VOD, I think we might have talked about them a little bit, but like to a person now who's not familiar with their material, who would be listening to Axe to Grind,
Yes.
what of their material would you say to listen to? Slash, like, what? I don't think I've heard them since the 90s. What would you tell me? No, this is the one to listen to. Still?
This probably either 7-inch, the still 7-inch. I also like the second LP.
Which one is that?
Oh fuck! What the hell's it called?
Imprint.
You like the one
Imprint.
with the green drip.
Yes. Yes.
I see. I feel like that was like kind of like too decadent. Like they fucked up hanging out in the studio too long. Like
Oh, really?
some bangers on there,
There's some bangers.
but it's also their first record. It takes a lot of stuff from the old shit.
Yes. Yes.
But
it's a lot of
that
demo
song,
songs.
the Imprint record,
See, that's interesting that
is
you ride.
really
It's
good.
interesting that you ride that because that was the.
They got a coalesce. They bought a
Oh,
coalesce
okay.
LP, and it sounded a little bit more like that. I thought.
Tell me if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
That's the Roadrunner record that was the first of the Roadrunner hardcore signees of that
VOD?
of that era. Is that correct?
I mean,
Because it was VOD, Madball, Earth
Shelter.
Crisis,
Shelter.
Shelter. But did VOD lead that off?
Madball did.
Madball did.
Set
Okay.
It Off was the first.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Set it off.
Okay.
Set It Off, literally.
So
VOD was like soon thereafter, though. And so was Shelter. Mantra came out, what, 95?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, it Set It Off came out 94.
Yep.
So VOD to a listener. Okay, so we were talking about Ensign, and I didn't know how to find a way to sell that to a kid, right?
Right.
VOD. I would say that if you're a fan of Vane, if you're a fan of the
Code Orange. Any of those.
Code Orange,
Yeah.
if you're a fan like
The more spastic Code Orange stuff.
there is stuff happening right now that
Oh, yeah, okay.
There's a direct through line.
Yeah,
They might not notice.
They might
Right.
not know. It
They
might
might not recognize
have
it,
kind of
but-
circled back to it. That's a really good point. And if you don't like those things, if you don't like those bands currently, should you try to like VOD?
okay, so if you don't like those because they're too chaotic, but you do like
the screaming and the moshing?
yes,
Yes.
Okay.
then you
All
can. You can find a home with VOD. I would be curious for any intrepid listener to listen to the full discography because people jump off at various places in a real serious way.
Right.
And I'd be curious how a person now, like a young person now who maybe grew up under the Deftones. Like Deftones are like to them, I don't know, like maybe what Korn was to certain kids or whatever. Like just a thing that is almost like a dad band. Like it just exists and you can't avoid it. I'm curious how VOD sounds to that person.
Right. And I think they definitely got into Alice in Chains.
Oh, did they?
And I think a lot of people love Alice in Chains now, but like when you're going to VOD for your fucking anger and they're like doing the weird like well, yeah. I mean, I fucking love Alice in Chains, but I think they went a little too far with that and the whole like I'm singing with a needle in my arm kind of.
So all right, I'm a dude who was into alternative music like grunge prior to being into hardcore. Were you into alt stuff before hardcore?
Were you alt?
I was a nerd, so I got into music, period, through going to the public library.
I know.
So I don't have any like.
What a goon.
No,
like you weren't like specific. Like you didn't hear Nirvana. You didn't own Nirvana.
No,
records
no. I owned Elvis Costello before I owned Pearl Jam. You know what I mean? Like, and Pearl Jam was like a Columbia House sort of
vibe to you.
Like, yeah, and I got it. You know, I owned 10 and what's the other one? Versus.
25 years ago, like this week.
Yeah,
fuck.
Yeah.
Love you for Pearl Jam.
But no, so I didn't.
Okay.
And
well, I was an alternative dude, and I loved all that shit. I loved it. And that's kind of what segued me. I was looking for something else, and I realized that like Metallica Load really wasn't it.
Give me a few, give me a five, give me that.
It's like all right. I'm not even going to on it. Like there's some hits on that.
People get mad. I actually like that Metallica.
Oh, God.
I used to fuck with people who are older. I used to be like, "Yo, Load."
Is that your
tracks.
Bit?
That was a
Reload
bit, but you can't like you literally can't deny old Metallica. So, but there was a time for Rewritten History. Just as a sidebar, Rewritten History. There was a time like it wasn't cool to like alternative music and hardcore.
No.
Like, you were saying that. Like now everybody likes fucking Alice in Chains. It's not like a weird thing to say, yeah, I love Nirvana. Everybody's like,
You'd
yeah,
have to lie.
motherfucker. Yeah.
Right.
And be like, I don't listen to fucking Pearl Jam. What?
Yeah.
I don't listen to fucking
Whereas,
Slayer.
like for me, I love Pearl Jam. I was like, I'm not going to give up loving Pearl Jam because I like this new music. I did kind of put it on the shelf, and I regret not going to see them when I could have then. But, you know, some mistakes you live with forever.
Yeah.
We're starting to get feedback on Texas. Let's do one more and then we'll pile it up and talk about Texas Reason. I want to do Carry On.
Yo, I have nothing to say except so let me just jump out ahead before I go pee.
Both of you.
This band is the band that came up for me most often when I would say people would ask me if I liked American Nightmare. I would say no, and then they would say, "But you like Carry On." You know what I mean? Like, so. These things were kissing cousins to a lot of people. And I probably will take Carry On over American Nightmare if there's any reason to compare the two in 2018, but neither of these thrill me.
Well, this is the reason for the Rewritten History. Tom, what are your feelings on Carry On? Because you actually played with them.
Yeah. I really like the Life Less Played record. Mm-hmm. They didn't really exist to me before then. And like you were saying when we were doing some pre-production for the that they were around since like 97. Yeah. And this is from my own ignorance, definitely kind of put them under the whole like, hey, American Nightmare came out, and then all these other bands came out, like Sworn In, and all these bands that were
Panic,
and I mean, Panic is like one thing or whatever, but like, it's like, oh, like they used to jokingly, I don't know if this is like a widespread thing, but they used to call the singer from Carry On West Coast.
Yes.
Because he was like sweating West so hard that
looked like had the style, had the
same haircut, same, you know, and I don't know what I can't tell you. I'd never listened to Carry On before that, so I don't know what they sound like before that. But it was definitely very AN to me.
And that's exactly the story we're here to tell today. The Rewritten History of Carry On. Because I don't know that I would personally deny any of this. I was not in Carry On. I wasn't around them.
Full disclosure, I was never in Carry On.
I was not in the band. And I became friends with Todd well after Carry On, but I was aware of them from a pretty early time. But I got a chance to live in California, and I think their history is slanted.
I didn't hear any movement.
For people at home, I just used the bathroom and I didn't flush because I thought it would disrupt the flow. You know,
So
what I
you
mean?
didn't flush.
No, it didn't flush.
Get the fuck in there and flush, you animal.
I thought we'd hear it on camera.
Who cares?
Oh, it's just pee. If it's mellow, let it yellow. Or if
I
it's
was going
yellow-
to say, I
if
knew
it's
that's
yellow,
how he lived. Yeah.
Yeah. It probably smells like asparagus. And
Or
cigars.
Impossible Burgers.
Impossible burger, yeah.
So, carry on. I think that what you said exactly is what everyone, and Patrick said the same. They are largely looked at as maybe a lot of people ride for A Life Less Plagued in a way that say, there's the AN records and then there's A Life Less Plagued, and those are the records that came out of that bunch that were really, that's it. That's the thing.
Maybe a Count Me Out record.
Well, I was going to say.
Sorry.
Yeah. No. Perfect. I'm glad you said that. AN...
Didn't
Patrick.
really begat these bands, but
they influenced in a peer group time. In a lot of ways, there'll be events in comic books, Patrick,
Yes.
that warp reality, that bend shit, and it's all around it. And it's like, that is what American Nightmare did, in that,
like Magneto?
Kind of. They're more like the
thing?
Molecule Man. They changed everything at a molecular level that, like, it's the same, but it's a little bit more like that now. Like, because all of a sudden people wanted that recording style. Bands existed before that, but then American Nightmare came out, did their thing, and then all bands processed through that, and the sound was a little different. And that's Panic. Panic existed. Those dudes were doing something different, and then did Panic. It's the dude from The Trouble. It's some dudes who were, around, and then they kind of funneled through AN and did that. Mm-hmm. And I think it shows. Count Me Out did 110, and then Permanent comes
a
out.
lot different.
And Striking Distance, even, there's not AN parts, but you can hear some of the influences just from being around at the time.
Never mind aesthetically.
Never mind
Who
aesthetically.
the fuck wore goddamn diesel jeans and shit?
There's that, and also
The hair.
and the merch designs. There's Champion shirts that have blood splatter on them. That's odd.
Yeah, because they were fucking straight up youth group bands.
Yeah, that's right. So there's all that. Carry On wasn't exempt from that. Their biggest detractors will say, dude, the singer bit that dude's look, bit that dude's lyrical style, the whole thing.
Do you agree with that?
I do.
Okay.
I don't know that dude. I've always thought him to be a nice guy in my minimal encounters I've had with him.
Now, so Carry On is Todd,
Ryan George, singer. Corey Williams,
one guitar.
Todd,
Greg Bacon.
Greg joined. John Westbrook joined. They had a couple different drummers. Nick Jett joined at the very end.
Okay.
But they had a couple of other drummers I didn't know. There was also some other members earlier and later. So I'm going to tell the story of why I think Carry On has they've been written, their history's skewed because they're looked at as just an American Nightmare fringe band, part of that. They were a lot more than that.
I have a follow-up question
Please.
that I might want to ask now so you can include it in your...
Please.
Do you think the revelations that came out after that record kind of hurt them? That he wasn't straight edge singing straight edge songs, the carry on.
At the time, yes.
Like, do you feel like that kind of
at the time? Yes, but
do you think they didn't get passed down because of that?
No, because I think they got passed down, and I think Life Less Plague got passed down. Now the material before that didn't.
Nah.
And this is the deal. Carry On starts, I believe, demos 97.
Damn.
Ryan George is in the band first. He was from Central-ish California, like San Mateo, like San Luis Obispo, like Nowheresville kind of style. Like, John Steinbeck and not much else.
Yeah.
Who's the fighter that's from San Luis Obispo? Fuck. You know the UFC guy with the mohawk?
I don't know.
Oh, God. Chuck Liddell.
Chuck Liddell. There we go. So those dudes of the band, Corey lives in LA Valley, maybe Westlake Village, aka home of Strife.
Okay, sure.
Corey joins the band early. They are doing this band. They're the only band doing this. They're pretty straightforward youth crew-y band.
Okay.
They might have been taking hints from the Floor Punch, 10-Yard Fight, In My Eyes kind of world of stuff, but they were doing it pretty early in comparison, and they were on the West Coast. No other band's doing that. Todd wasn't even in the band for a while. Yeah. They put out a record on Jitsu Records called Stabbed in the Face, I believe. Jitsu Records also put out Todd's first band, Stand Your Ground. 7-inch, which is pretty good. I liked that more than I liked the Carry On record at the time. Carry On is a local stalwart. Is playing everywhere from Ventura down to OC on the regular, but never played with the cool OC metalcore bands. Where they did play was the PCH Club with this band Lifesalt, who no one really talks about now, but were a pretty big band for a little while in the thrash world. Carry On and Lifesalt spearhead this no reply too. This DIY scene that helps build Southern California up on a separate lane than any of the older new age stuff. That stuff had receded. It was separate from the OC metalcore stuff that didn't even look their way.
Right. So they got like the Ojai Women's Club, right? Or
that stuff. They got Ojai Women's Club. The PCH Club, which if you talk to anyone of a certain vintage, is the most important place for them. It was California. The Pickle Patch, and then it was the PCH.
And the smell.
Quick aside.
Smell. Yep.
Ojai.
Right after.
Sorry, I was throwing something.
Best light in the United States.
It's beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
It's amazing.
The light diffuses through the spot like in this way that is highly unique and like
in the Ojai. So basically, you drop. Oh yeah, you played the Women's Club.
Yep.
Perfect venue in my opinion.
yeah.
Literally perfect. It's amazing. There's a spot.
I just remember it being very bright.
Yeah.
I think Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie lived there, as well as Oprah owned
in the Ojai Women's Club. That's amazing. And they let them like
they had a bunch of kids, so they spread them all out.
Stedman, they're gonna be some loud music.
I'm gonna have some friends over today.
Yeah.
But like, I want to give credit to Corey and Ryan and Todd and like these dudes. They started playing shows with the PCH, which was in a very undesirable part of Long Beach, kind of down by the ports.
All of it?
Was yes. No, there's the nice
Snoop
part of
Dogg?
Long Beach too. You know what I mean? Like downtown.
You know,
Was that 5th Street? Whatever it is.
Sublime.
Yeah, right. Dissension, pre-Sublime. But
What was PCH? Like, was that just a punk club? Was that a
basically, this dude Alex Maciel ran it, and he's awesome. He worked at Rev for a long time, and it was just a punk club DIY space, and he loved all kinds of music. So it was just a DIY music space.
Cool.
It was fucking rad. And they merged, like, Life's Halt was definitely from the more punk DIY scene, and Carry On and those bands played a ton of shows together and fermented the scene that didn't exist before. And everyone you talk to who was around at that time will tell you that it felt magical, that these are two bands that were very different, but were playing together and putting these shows together that really were awesome.
Yeah, for people at home, maybe if you don't know those two bands, obviously there's no significance there. However, if you're like me, who is old enough to remember both but didn't know this history, those feel like completely different worlds.
And they became that. There was a split.
Oh, okay.
We can touch on that. But they were together in a way that helped build two very small things. These weren't big interest groups. Straightforward kind of hardcore that was known on the East Coast as canon didn't really fucking pop on the West Coast. Even the more, like, you had to lean metal or you had to lean punk. And that was it. And there was no real world for more straightforward hardcore there for a long time. You know, in the wake of the late 80s, there just wasn't a lot of that. And so these dudes kind of did that and worked together. And while they're doing it, I don't think that Carry On Stab in the Face record's very good. They do a 7-inch on Youngblood called The Line Is Drawn that is better, but still didn't really hit me. And that was a big deal. They were a band from California who did a record on Youngblood Records.
Weirdly, I did not know that.
Yes, because this is all kind of quick. This is at a weird, dark time. 1998 is a rough time. And then do a 7-inch called Roll With The Punches on Teamwork Records. Again, another, like, traditionally, this is an East Coast only label. Teamwork just did stuff for East Coast, mostly New Jersey, PA, straight edge bands, and they did this 7-inch for a band from California. You know, and Carry On worked really hard to break down a lot of walls and a lot of the perceptions. Like, you know, we talk about the jokes that get thrown around about European bands, the second-class citizen main strikes of the world, like how that was kind of a joke. The
sportswear.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you
Sure.
know, to say that was not that the same kind of aspersions were cast upon stuff that wasn't from the East Coast of the more straightforward hardcore leanings. Let me just say this: if Go It Alone came out in 1996, the respect that was put on their name 10, 12 years later wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for bands like Carry On.
Oh yeah, no,
If it wasn't
I'll go
for
with that.
Carry On, straight up. And I think they don't get the recognition for that they kind of built this world up. They kind of pop off because American Nightmare comes to the West Coast, plays. Now, note, Carry On played with bands like Floor Punch when they would come through. I don't know if they played the show, but they were the dudes who helped book the show and did the whole damn thing. I think they did play with them. But then they were still doing their thing when AN comes through a couple years later. AN sees them, reps for them, is like, holy shit, these dudes are doing something cool. This is a band everybody should support. That leads to them getting signed to Bridge 9, leads to the LP, leads to the whole thing. That's where kind of everyone puts their attention, is that time period. Mm-hmm. What I'm saying is that the time before that, from 97 to 2000-ish, is this weird, while the music is not what I would consider the best material, I think that Roll with the Punches record's pretty good. I think when I've gone back and listened to Line Is Drawn, it's not bad. If you like that kind of stuff, all that should float. If it wasn't for them, the whole Northwest scene, the Rivalry Record stuff, 1917, Sound and Fury.
Think React
for sure.
Yeah.
All that kind of stuff. I don't think that exists. Or if it does, it doesn't exist even at the same level because that band did a lot. And I say this as somebody who's not really a Carry On fan. Like that's just
No,
not
we
my thing.
can acknowledge that it had ripples.
But I think that they had such an interesting history that's something people should try to examine, take a look at. And we get asked sometimes about building a scene, etc. Yo, look at that era. This is a band who worked hard. They built scenes in places that there weren't. And like it's funny to say there wasn't a scene in Southern California. There was. But there wasn't a scene for what they wanted.
No, yeah, of course.
I mean?
They were the adamantiums of the world that were fucking enormous.
Throwdown was a band.
Yeah.
Todd talked about it. He's like, I didn't play with Throwdown and Carry On until... I didn't play with Throwdown and Carry On, period. I didn't play a show with Throwdown until like 2 years into Terror or something like that. Like 2003 or
Like
something.
never the twain shall meet.
Well, real quick, that whole building a scene thing, it demonstrates a great point here, which is your natural inclination might be to align yourself with bands that sound exactly like you, build a strong scene that way. But when I point to shit like Long Island, it's not because I'm like a stand for Long Island. I hate a lot of that fucking music.
Yep.
But what those kids have done very well over the years is look past each other's musical preferences. You know what I mean? And just say like, hey, you know what I mean? This is going to be
strength in numbers,
This
man.
exactly. This is going to be much bigger if we just fucking link up. Link and build, fam.
So yeah, and that's the thing. If you want it, keep working at it. Do this thing. They didn't catch, like, honestly, that's also a band who did a full U.S. tour in 2000, and now it's quick, but they busted ass to get out here. And I think it was Carry On, Count Me Out, Striking Distance. And I think they had a couple okay shows.
Yeah.
They played to 15 people in New Jersey. They had some bunk ones too.
Yeah.
And it was a lot of that grind and struggle because they were from California. They might as well have been from fucking Missoula. You know, it didn't matter. It didn't have any weight. And what I'm saying is that I think after they existed and built things, because Todd goes, he's in Carry On for a little while. He goes and does Terror. One of the dudes goes on and does, a couple of the dudes go on and do Knife Fight. Internal Affairs. You know, all these side projects.
Quick
Ryan
aside.
George goes and does this youth. They're doing all these things.
Internal Affairs stand up. Have you checked it out recently?
No, I wasn't a fan.
Oh, you weren't a fan then?
No.
I liked how abrasive it was. It was very in your face.
Live, I liked it.
Yeah.
Live, it was awesome.
That's probably what
the
I was
thing.
feeling. Okay, yeah.
So that's
Also, before Youth Code, he did that, like he was a Buzzcocks guy.
That's right. He did. What was that band?
I don't know.
It had a minute, but yeah.
The something in the old war suits. They were all
Yes,
dressed like
yeah,
mods.
Oh,
But I think
suit
creatively, Youth Code
band.
is more interesting. But I mean, a lot of those dudes went and did bands. They influenced entire regions. Like they influenced San Francisco that had this little bump all of a sudden where bands like Lights Out, bands like Allegiance, all these bands pop up. There was a time period in the South Bay where these bands like Final Fight, Set It Straight, The Miracle Mile, Set Your Goals, all these kind of bands, like, are directly influenced by Carry On and would tell you that. Some of those bands used to cover Carry On. Some of those bands went on to Dangers, etc. Like, some of those bands, Stick to Your Guns, like, you can follow these lines that point back at Carry On, and it's an influence in a lot of different ways. And one of the biggest notes that I want to, and I'll kind of quit it here because there's 2 points I want to touch on what Tom asked about, and I'll touch on this. They were homies with Life's Hall. They played shows together. There was a sort of split in the vibe because Life's Hall was kind of punk but thrashcore, bandana thrash thing. And I want to be real honest, a lot of people were wearing costumes at that.
Oh,
You know,
a lot of people. I think you mean all people. I'll say it.
And then on the other side, the Carry On dudes, people were moshing harder, a little bit more into it, maybe more jockey. There was a literal split that people have talked to me about at a show where they were playing together, and one group's fan base was mocking the other for being too tough, and the others took offense to it, and it snowballed into a fucking palpable thing and a split. And you could watch that. I moved to California in 2003, and I saw the results of that, where there were these parsed scenes, and it was like, oh, this doesn't make sense. Like, why don't these bands play together more often? And there was a lot of shrugging, like, and it was sad. So they were a great example of kind of keeping it together. The straight edge thing hurt him.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dude stopped being straight edge before the record was finished.
Did people know that not until they broke up, right?
I mean, it was floating. It was floating in the ether.
I did.
Yeah, but I'm saying
Not
like
everyone.
it wasn't widespread.
Not all the band members knew.
Yeah, it's pretty fucking wild. Did he X up and shit at those shows? I don't remember.
I don't know. I didn't see.
Undercover straight edge.
I think it was a hard thing, and the lens of time asks the question, like, should they have done it? Should they not? I feel like there was some felt obligation, which is a weird thing to say. Like, I feel like they felt like an obligation to do right by this label,
Right.
who, like,
Put money
Bridge
into
9
their
put themselves under it, and we're like, hey, we're doing this, like, we want some support to it. Now, obviously, that's turned out to be a great long-term gamble. That record became one of the iconic records of the era, and then beget relationships to other bands, including this little band known as Terror. But I think that it didn't immediately hurt, but it was like a thing that when it's been talked about, people feel weird about.
Did it like
feel
impact
why.
their legacy, would you say?
That's a really tough question.
I think no.
It's you think no?
I think no.
Yeah.
I think that people that liked it, I think liked it for the riffs. You know what I mean? I really do.
I think there's a lot of people who really ride for the lyrics on that.
Yeah.
Yeah? Oh, I don't know.
The hardest kids still sign their name with an X.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I
by their
don't know
name.
that I've heard that song, and I know that line.
Sure. Yep. That's exactly
So,
right. Good point.
I think there's a lot of people who ride for it. It might be one of those cases where maybe it hurts the legacy a little bit, but that this is the example that we try to tell people young and old. It matters what your relationship to it is. If that shit rings true with you, fuck who said it. Who
Right.
cares? Great. I think there's, like, that dude did a lot of stuff, and I think his testament in Carry On was as somebody who was the big singer of a band who achieved a level of success at the end of its career and never really got to enjoy the fruits of its labor. They never did a last show until years later.
Right.
I think 2006 maybe they did a Carry On last show, because they were like, yo, we never got to do a last show. I want to do a last show. Let's
At the
do
showcase,
it.
right?
And they did, and it was fucking wild. Like,
2 nights, right? I thought they sold out 2
I think
nights.
2 nights, yeah. I mean, they definitely sold it out.
Yeah.
It was one of those, like, outrageously packed things. So shout outs, big ups to Carry On, and I hope people go back and check that out. And even more so, if you can kind of, like, look at what we do on the Patreon episode, which I hope you all get to hear. We talk about Youth of Today for a while, and we talk about how they kind of changed what hardcore looked like wholesale, for better or worse. I want you to look at what Carry On did, what you see from the West Coast, specifically California, but the West Coast as a whole, before them and then after them, and there's no worse. They did a lot of good. and they made a lot of things better and easier, and they served as kind of a flag post for a lot of bands after them, which is pretty fucking awesome.
I think of the bands that we spoke about today, this is the one that I still see name checked in any way.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So shall we?
Let's Texas is the reason.
Yeah, let's close
Let's
up
go back
with our,
and forth. I think we both have a set of answers here.
Okay, so I've got a wide variety. Some people saying the band is amazing. My personal favorite is let's see, Big League Jew 69, who says he's
Followers of self-defense.
he
Jeez.
says he's 23. Got jerked off to them a bunch when he was 18.
Wow.
And good band backed hard. I didn't know kids were jerking each other off to Texas is the reason. That's crazy.
I'm impressed. I don't know that I believe him by using he's using the vernacular good band backed hard.
That's
He's
true. That's
23.
not a 23-year-old thing to say.
We're getting
This is a plant.
catfished.
Yo, this
Catfish.
This is a
You
scam.
32 if you're a day.
Scam.
He's like,
32.
yes, back when the OC was on and I was getting jerked off. You're a fucking 2004.
Yeah, no, that's a fraud. That's a fraud right there. What you got?
Probably born in 69.
I got 20, amazing band, 25, one of the best to do it. I'm under 30, and I think it's just okay. We might be honing in that people on the younger side, 25, don't hate, but there's a lot of bands I like from that sound / era I love way more. I think, here's my theory.
They're having they're coming back with young kids.
An indie songs. My theory here, they are a blind spot for people 28 to 35-ish.
It could be.
With exception, because they were recent enough that they weren't looked back on, and that people under that age range are looking at them more in that historical, like, oh, let me check out bands from this time frame. And maybe that time frame of blind spot might be 30 to 35. It's some variance there. But I think that people who are younger, and I had a couple of the text friends who I hit about this who gave really good answers. I don't think so. At least not a lot of hardcore kids. I got into them because in high school I was super into emo stuff. I think that had I not been influenced by that, I wouldn't have gotten into Texas Reason. At the time, too, I was all around mostly people older than me, so I don't know that many young people, like 18 to 22, listen to them. I'd say probably their age range is 25 plus. Maybe. Could be wrong, though. I think they influence a lot of the emo bands hardcore kids do like. I just don't hear many people actually talk about them. That's true.
Yeah. Okay. If you have strong feelings on Texas is the Reason or any band that we discussed and we are totally out of pocket, you can speak for a large group of people.
At axe to grind podcast at gmail.com, shoot us an email or tweet us at axe to grindcast. Or you can even go to our facebook.com /axe to grind podcast.
That group is popping off.
Yeah.
Yeah. We got anything else?
We got other stuff. I think we're
We go on a minute. I'm gonna say let's cut it, and we can hold because we each have one more that we can hold for a future episode on the same topic. Let's see.
Wait. Tom's got an idea.
Oh, you got something? What you got?
Do we want to talk about Kid Dynamite?
I never want to talk about Kid Dynamite, but if you do, I will.
I mean, I have a funny
Let's do it. We've got 10 minutes and 10 seconds, so let's go.
Okay.
Time.
I have a good a little bit of trivia that people
all right,
might not
please,
know
yeah.
about Kid Dynamite.
Okay, yeah.
I'm not going to tell you right now. We're going to believe. I'm going to hold off on that.
So Kid Dynamite. Oh, we're teasing?
No, yeah, I'm not. Yeah.
Okay, we're teasing.
No, we'll talk about Kid Dynamite, but I'll.
Okay, Kid Dynamite's another one who's been on our rewritten list. A band who, to explain their heat when they came out is almost hard because Lifetime is a band who, when they were a band, nobody cared about. Posthumously, people cared with a fucking fervor.
Yeah.
And I think that Jersey's Best Dancers record really...
It's
that
fucking
was
great.
But I'm saying, I think they really started to pop off with that.
Yes.
And this is only a year or two later.
2-ish years later, yeah.
I mean, I didn't like...
to 98.
I never gave a shit about Lifetime until Jersey's Best Dancers, and then I went back.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Same.
And I think... so people were fucking... They broke up kind of prematurely. Not prematurely, but prematurely for they got that sound down.
They got their sound down and then break up at what should have been the time when they exploded.
Blew up. Yeah. So they were fiending for...
something from these guys.
Right.
And so they put out a demo. It pops. They immediately do a record with Jade Tree, who was kind of a big deal anyways right then. And...
So the demo... was written a year before it came out.
Yes.
They didn't have...
They didn't have vocals, but they tried out a bunch of people.
Oh, right.
Right. So now, the band is Dan Yeaman on guitar.
Yep.
Wagon Shoots on drums.
Yep.
Who
The
played
dude-
bass? Do you remember? Oh,
No.
Hold on. Let me just look at the
wait,
demo
it's that
I have in
dude.
my pocket.
It's that dude who went on to other bands.
That guy.
Yeah, no. You'll know.
Oh, I
when
thought you
see
being
it.
facetious.
No, I mean it. I mean, when you see his name, you're gonna be like, oh, that guy. I think. Is it the guy who went on to Loved Ones? Dave House?
No, Steve
Oh.
Farrell,
Oh, okay.
Noisemaker, Steve Farrell, Dan Yeaman, Jason Shevchuk, and David
Wagon Shoots. Okay, then no, not that guy. But so, anyways, they didn't have Jason Shevchuk from Bound
Yes.
on vocals, but they were trying people out. And a young Patrick Kinlan. No, he did not. That would be a
Imagine
great
that.
fiction.
I can't do. Fun fact: I can't remotely do what this man does.
Sound like Cartman?
Normally, that impresses me on some level.
Cheetahs!
I hate this. Have always hated this. Have nothing positive to say about this. I'm going to go back and listen because I do that for everything that we talk about.
Yes.
But as a kid, you couldn't get me. I don't like.
I don't think you like pop punk.
Correct.
Was there anything even in that realm? Like, what's the poppiest of that kind of stuff? Because you do get in some poppier sounding indie,
Sure, yeah.
and you vibe on like new wave and some like post punk and like proto punk poppy stuff.
Oh, I don't know if we've talked about this, but I've been.
Like Gary Newman.
I do like Gary
does,
Newman.
yes. Of
course you do.
No, I something we talked about on a recent podcast. I want to say made me revisit Naked Ray Gun in a more concerted. Like I'm going to listen to
But that
All Rise.
sort of falls halfway.
I mean, some of that shit is straight up like rock of the type that
Yes.
then pop punk bands
Pulled.
Yes,
Yes, 100%.
and
A lot of people don't acknowledge that.
I found myself loving it in a
Yeah,
way
I
that
feel like there's a lot of Naked Ray Gun you could ride.
right, and there's that one record that I am familiar with, but I really was not familiar with their catalog, and I've been enjoying it. But I mean, there's
You
a
fuck
lot.
with the Clash.
Love the Clash.
Yeah, like I feel like some of the popular like Spanish Bomb.
Oh, sure, come on.
Like that's as close as you get to pop punk.
You know what? I could say that, but then I got roasted online for fucking. I tweeted the other day that I like that Modern Baseball song.
Yeah, what the fuck was that?
I got murdered.
Mobo?
I got
Jesus,
murdered.
dude.
I got murdered. I just like it. Every once in a while, these fucking songs that get through.
Yeah, all
You know
right,
what I mean?
yeah. And you do like ska, so
That's true.
Sucks. You don't like Propaganda?
I like the abrasive lyrical nature of the early stuff, like "fuck religion."
They're pop punk, though.
for
They are
sure.
pop punk
But
as fuck.
musically,
I
I
don't
don't enjoy it until today's Empires, which I think is fucking rocking.
Yeah.
what about Dillinger 4?
Don't care. Don't care. Not mad at it though.
No, it never got me.
A lot of people who like Propaganda like Dillinger 4.
Yeah.
I'm sure that there's something called pop punk that I enjoy. I'm sure. But I just
Fall
don't.
Out Boy.
I don't know.
He's got those Menzinger sweatpants. So all right, now you see what you're saying. Kid Dynamite.
the other day, hey, I want to submit you for this Menzinger's tour. I don't remember. Do you have beef with them? This was the question posed to me, and I said they sound like the Goo Goo Dolls, and they ignored me in the airport. And he's like, "That's it. That's
Nice
it.
fellas
That's a
from
yes.
what I understand.
That's a yes."
They really don't sound like the Goo Goo Dolls.
I
wish
think
they
I
did.
said they sound like the Goo Goo Dolls playing whatever pop punk fucking band of the moment. I said something shitty about them, unless you like the Goo Goo Dolls, which actually all at Drug Church except for me does. But like I don't actually have any beef. God bless whatever the fuck the Menzingers is doing. But no,
I enjoy some of their music.
I don't know if I've really
You never
heard
heard that
it.
song? I don't want to be an asshole anymore.
No, good title.
I never heard it.
And the whole video is Jason.
Sorry.
Yo, dude.
What do we got?
Goo Goo Dolls, man. You can't fuck with that record. A boy named Goo? God damn.
I don't fuck with that.
That record is great.
I don't fuck with that.
All right, I'm just gonna let this play till it's
All right,
really
yeah.
dramatic. But so Jason
That
Shevchuk.
long way down.
Yeah, such a good song. This should be the aim of the next Drug Church LP.
If it was up to my fucking bandmates, this is where we'd already
Can
be.
you grow hair out like Johnny Resnick? I don't think so.
No,
Yo, he kind of had a Rachel haircut.
He did have Rachel.
he did.
This is more aggressive than. This is more grunge than Drug Church.
That's probably true.
How do you not like this?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is.
I mean,
really
this
good.
is like Empire Records soundtrack shit right here, and I'm
Yes.
not usually mad at that, but not into this.
Way down.
All right, fuck it. I'm a Menzingers fan now. I love Goo Goo Dolls, Menzingers, and everything else.
All right, you're gonna after we're done here, you're gonna go watch the I don't want to be an asshole anymore video. All
right.
because
quick.
Jason Voorhees is the central character in the whole thing.
Okay,
And
copyright strike.
And he doesn't want to kill anybody. But he keeps
He's
fucking-
reporting them.
But he keeps fucking up
And killing people.
It's pretty funny.
I know
Can
how
you
that
tell the
goes.
story about that Jeff Run for Cover once gave us, where at 6 a.m. in the UK, he was proclaiming his love for Third Eye Blind, and you turned around and went, "Shut the fuck up."
Is that why he hated you for a minute?
No,
No,
he hated-
that was other people.
Yeah. I don't recall that, but but here's a weird
You're
thing.
not ruling it out.
No, I'm not ruling it out at all. There's certain bands that when people talk about them, I
That's
get irate.
almost the meanest thing you can say.
Shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
You know what I
that's
think?
pretty
Do you know what I
close.
think is the meanest thing you can say?
Well, that you can say.
Oh yeah. But I think the meanest thing anyone can say is a sincere, "You fucking idiot." I think
Yeah.
I think idiot.
Yeah, I just-
when you
Hurtful?
say it when you say it with full conviction is as mean as anything.
I
in the
almost got
world.
up right now and went at you.
Yeah, you know
just
what I
because you
mean?
were looking my general direction.
Yeah, It was like when you say "you fucking idiot" and you mean it.
Yeah.
It's on.
Yeah, you're okay.
know?
Fighting words. That's
But-
gonna be the Ice to Grind cassette tape that we do as an exclusive at Generations, where it's an exclusive episode called Fighting Words, and that's gonna be the hardest shit we say. But you have to go buy it on a cassette. There's no digital download.
nah.
You got to play it on a cassette, and you can hear the crazy shit.
Right.
That would be such a good.
Take it
would
to
do
a
it.
public park, play it with
Great
a boombox.
Yeah.
All right, so Kid Dynamite. They were
Takes him a
hot
year
and
to
away.
find Jason Shevchuk, apparently.
Yeah, it takes them a year. They record, they hit. As our buddy Dave said, their demos were like $3, and everybody's like, "What the fuck's wrong with you?
Rock
You
stars, how
crazy?
dare
A
you."
$5 demo at each if I could." They blow up immediately and do big tours.
And mind you, it's a double-sided demo.
Yeah, how many songs on that thing? Six
One,
songs. Six
yeah.
songs with Jay singing.
Yeah, 3 songs on each side. So it's not even. So that's a pain in the ass
That's true.
to get
But they-
produced.
That's true.
So maybe $3 isn't really that big. Any demo
I don't
Indecision
think
ever
they
had
were.
was on one side,
Yeah.
and the other side was blank.
So.
Yes. To take down the record industry at your own home.
I like that. I like that. So they pop off, then they break up, and their last shows are bonkers. Bonkers.
Is that like the church or something?
The church.
Yeah.
2 shows, 2 nights at the church. Super fun. One of those shows where you could stage dive and just keep rolling.
Float forever.
And just dive again and roll again. Fun as fuck. And I rode for them. I don't know. Neither Patrick hates them with an ire.
No idea why. I mean, I don't know why these.
They were fun, and you didn't like fun.
That's what it is.
probably.
You know what? You're right.
Yeah.
You're right.
Tom, did you fuck with them at all or not really?
I remember I went specifically into the city to Generation to buy the demo that they put on consignment at Generation Records. to
They
buy
did
the
that
demo.
at Curmudgeon and Edison too. Yep.
I liked it. I really loved that demo, and I remember seeing them with like Judas Factor and shit.
Yes.
And then I didn't give a fuck anymore. I don't know what happened. I don't know any of the records. Like
I think both the LPs, if you like it, you like it. It's good. It's fast, short songs, whatever. It's fun. It's pop punk adjacent. Like you can't it's hardcore only because it's fast, I guess, but it's short songs. Really up tempo and kind of bright. They break up, and is our theory that they maybe got more popular when they broke up?
yeah, I would tend to think so.
Yes.
And they
Yes, I do.
they kind of for a minute there's this first wave of like pop punk hardcore bands,
Yes.
and we'll include good and bad, Daggermouth, Shook Ones, Set Your Goals.
Jenna Berlin,
Is that do you
Polar Bear Club.
Polar Bear Club?
Yeah, Polar Bear Club.
But actually, I think all those bands owe a fucking shit ton to Kid Dynamite.
Yes,
Not clean vocals. That's Hot
right.
Water Music and Kid Dynamite brought
Yeah?
the way
yeah,
to like.
yeah.
And I drank a fifth of whiskey before.
Yeah, that whole the fest scene, the No Idea stuff,
Yeah.
for sure. So then they decided to do some reunions. I don't remember when they did those. 06, 07, somewhere in that range. And they were big. They were fucking big, and people were pissing their pants excited about it. But in my estimation, and this was a debate, and we hope you guys can help us solve it, they've had diminishing returns, or they're less a part of the conversation in the last, say, 8 years. But that band was fucking enormous for a minute. And the argument being like, yeah, like all you guys who have these broad tastes, and there's a large palette at this point, this band apparently is fallen off the radar. But what do you guys think? Do you think they've fallen off the radar?
I bet here's my hypothesis.
When you tweet it.
in a way that the other bands that we talked about today probably don't enjoy. I bet that the person who was listening to Kid Dynamite is still listening to them regularly.
Huh.
That's my hypothesis.
Oh,
I don't. As somebody who listened to Kid Dynamite, I don't know. I can't tell the last time I put them on.
I'm going to see what Spotify has to say about this.
Okay, yeah, let's see it. I might have looked at that. I don't know if I did. Tom, what's your feeling?
2005, the band played a reunion show at CB's as a benefit. I
Oh,
didn't realize
right.
that.
Yes. Okay.
So
With Gray Area.
Yeah.
11,000 and a half monthly listeners.
Okay.
Which
Not nothing.
not nothing.
Biggest song?
Biggest song.
Never met the
is,
Gooch. No.
Probably.
Heart Attack.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know these fucking songs at all.
That doesn't matter. It's the listens. What's the streams?
That's about 250,000.
Okay.
So, and a lot of shit is over 100,000. Sorry for people at home that don't find that sort of information particularly interesting, but
It's one of those things that like these numbers don't go that far back.
right.
So it's easier to just kind of get a feel like what is happening right now when people are listening to this.
Also, really not on any relevant playlists.
So those are natural.
Those
are
11,000 are largely natural. So like I think that this band has people that still
listen. Okay.
love it.
Do you think young people do?
No.
Younger. Okay. And this is a band who their energy is young, but maybe it's now the music people put on to get up and put the fucking Bengay on our knees. So I don't know.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you
So
got?
my piece of gossip.
Oh, yeah.
Not
Oh,
gossip.
Fuck, we didn't even hit it.
Trivia.
Yeah, dude, we almost waited too long, and then
band makes me so irate. I just blotted this out.
so one of the probably many people that tried out for the band, John Pettibone from Undertow,
Whoa.
which would have been a completely different fucking deal.
So here's my question: how did he try? He went and practiced, right? And did it.
Yeah. So this is at the time he lived in Jersey. He lived in the East Coast
that's
for a
right.
while.
Yep, that's right. So it's sort of like, you've seen it, like America's Best Acapella or America's Idol. Wagon Shoots, Yeeman, and Farrell
set up
sit
at a
behind
table.
right?
Right.
And then they press play and you sing along.
Right. Sing along.
And they sing, and they jump around and they watched.
What?
Yeah.
He fucking bit the bit.
I was looking
He
up.
gave the sincere,
the numbers,
like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, no, I was in. Fuck.
Like,
That
that's what they
fucking
did?
Freaked me out. It was like that movie with the cheerleaders. Fuck, you fucked with my head there for a second.
Bring it on.
Bring it on.
Bring it on. Yeah.
It was very Bring It On for a second.
Not another teen movie. So that would have been interesting.
But they turned him down because his vocals were too negative sounding.
Yeah, probably true.
Probably true. But I mean, this is also Jason was coming from a metalcore band.
That's true.
Bound X was a fucking full-on metalcore band.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Quite offensive cover of King of Pain by the Police.
Oh, really?
Oh, yeah.
Can we play it?
That's yeah,
Offensive, like bad, or like I can't.
offensively bad.
Let's hear
Offensively
it.
bad.
Let's hear it. So
It's fun, but it's offensively bad.
They were one of the first bands that I remember in the early '90s or mid '90s to wear makeup.
Oh, that's interesting.
Like I don't know if it was a singer, somebody in the
now
band
this is a
wore
different.
like
This
mascara.
is not. This is a different band than the Bound from Mass, right?
Yes, they're from
Yes.
Jersey.
Yeah, Bound from Mass is a band that people talk about with like these like the starry eyes and looking out into the distance of, oh man, that was the band. Like if you talk to the dudes like Trey, they're all like, no, that band should have been huge.
Really?
Yeah. They're
Oh
like
no,
Bound
did they
from
do
Mass.
Paint It Black? Maybe I'm confusing my terrible covers.
It's okay.
X Bound X.
Yeah, let's see. I think it was King of Pain, and I think it was bad. No, okay, so let's see. Fuck. Now. X Bound X, you think that we're going to find it that way? All right,
I don't know.
let's
They were
see.
called back in the day.
Yeah.
Oh, this song. This is different than I thought it was.
Yeah, hell yeah.
In this day and age, this is BJ Thomas. I feel like he sings all the songs.
Yo, this was Axe to Grind. We're a hardcore podcast.
Thank you for joining us.
Have a good one.
Axe to Grind cast on Twitter.
Yeah.
Axe to Grind podcast at gmail.com. Thanks everyone for their continued support.
And patience.
Love y'all. Bye.